republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 5.1, acknowledgements of the board.
Sorry, just trying to get my
Yep,
computer
no,
caught
no,
up.
you're good.
Okay, so June is recognized as LGBTQ Pride Month, National Safety Month, National Flag Day is coming up tomorrow, Father's Day is on the 16th, on Sunday, and the Juneteenth holiday is on the 19th. We acknowledge, would you like to read that section or for our volunteers and parents?
Yeah, I'm looking,
5.2.
yes. Just the statement, we don't have a, just, okay.
Just, yeah, we don't have a
Yep,
proclamation.
just acknowledging all the volunteers and parents for their hard work in supporting our school programs during the 23-24 year. It takes a village, and a lot of people go above and beyond to make all of our programs and initiatives successful and give kids a great experience. Just want to acknowledge them for all of their hard work.
We also have a retirement acknowledgement. So we have Joanne Alexey has been with our district for more than 14 years as a school psychologist, supporting students and staff. So she will be enjoying retirement very soon. And finally, donations. We had 305. $305 was donated by various individual donors to support the Giving Care Dando Cuidado program. Probably just murdered that, sorry.
All right, moving on to item 6, communication. If any board members have received any communication since the last meeting?
I missed last meeting, so I think everyone, maybe you didn't know, we had received a bunch of letters from middle school students about field and site issues, and so I can forward those to anyone, but I did have the paper, there was about 27 or 30.
Well, we know what the fields are. What were the site concerns?
One, indoor dances, they've been outside, different food in this options, and they wanted vending machines or something. Some there was bathroom concerns. Oh, you're really pushing.
Sorry, it was a month ago.
Me.
And I'm assuming that the site administrators read them or got them
I
first, and
forwarded
then
them
you.
to the
okay.
president and the site leader. But I can forward them to you, because I scanned them.
It's nice to hear.
Just
from
public
parents, but-
disclosure that we received them. A lot of good writing. I was really impressed with the writing.
All right, any other communication received?
I don't think so.
Okay. Moving on to public comment, I'll just make our disclosure here. Individuals may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items during public comment and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting it to Renee Holes, Administrative Assistant. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. A timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you do not complete your comment when the timer rings, you may leave a written comment for the board's information. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. A total of 20 minutes public comments per topic will be allowed. In exceptional circumstances, the board may consider adjusting the amount of time allowed for public comment. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or at a future time. If you require translation service, please contact Renee Holes at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. Regular meetings will be videoed and broadcasted on the FBUSD YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the board may also submit public comments prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes each, which is approximately 390 words. And with that, is there any public comment?
There is no emailed public comment.
Okay, is there any present? Okay. Okay, so moving on to 8.1, student representative report. Seeing that school's out, hopefully enjoying her summer. 8.2, the general obligations bond fund construction project update. It looks like we have a friend on the screen over there.
Hello, Dawn.
Hi, Don.
Hey, so just let me know when you're ready.
We're ready, sir.
Okay, it's quick and easy. I don't have a lot to report, but we're off on a good start. We started weekly meetings again about last week. We had one yesterday. The contractor's mobilizing. Barry cleared out the cafeteria, so we could get going on that area of work first, or in conjunction with other work. FRC's tore up a bit of the classrooms, the last remaining windows to be done, which is kind of a tangent project, not really a bond project, but so that's moving along well. And FRC's been helping the district move. There's a storage shed that's in the way where the building's going. So they've been struggling last day or so trying to figure out how to move that thing in one piece. I think the surveyor are showing up today to stake the site where the building's going. And to see if we need to, that one modular there, they'd like to keep a little bit longer. So we're hoping it's not building and it can stay. So Brandon's been working on temporary power for that modular. So we're just getting our bearings and getting going. I think next week some heavy equipment ought to show up and start doing the earthwork for the foundations, or the pad for the foundations for the building. So pretty much on a good start, or a great start actually, but not a lot to report since literally we've only been out there a few days. Probably the milestones for a schedule is, we've started now. The milestone is we want to get the cafeteria and lobby done by August, so we can hand it back to the district so they have a cafeteria office. So that's a big push to do, and that's manageable. Then the next milestone would be the administration entry canopy done by the first week of August. That way, when you come back to school, you're not ducking and dodging around construction. And then the remaining portion of the admin, the goal is to complete by December so that they can turn that over. And then the TK building completion is slated for June of next year. It looks like that put on the report 2024, but I would say 2025, obviously. Anyway, that's kind of where we are with things. Just kicking off and getting going with a good start. So I'm wide open for questions if anybody's had.
Sure. Any questions?
I just appreciate the timeline. That was nice to see. So thank you for including that.
Good. Yeah, I had your last report. Last report was more hard, but I kind of just summarized it this number, so a little clear.
I have to tell you, I was bummed coming up to the meeting tonight. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw some stuff had changed, but there was so much traffic, I couldn't gawk and look, so I'll have to look another day. That's what happens when you live in a small town. All these things are exciting. The schools are getting work done.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Don.
All right, well, thank you for having me remotely. I've been on the coast for a few days and working my way home now. So,
Perfect.
I'll do it.
Yeah, go enjoy being hot.
All right. It was cool. All right, talk to you next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8.3, Redwood Elementary School Benchmark Data Report.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm the principal at Redwood. Thank you for letting me report our data with volume at this time instead of earlier in the year so that we could capture more of our students' learning. I appreciate that. All right. starting with kindergarten. I think I'm on page 3, Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Our kindergarten team is particularly excited about growth in phonics. They're noting that the UFly curriculum that we've been using is making a positive difference on those foundational skills, and they are also noticing that comprehension is an area for future growth moving ahead. With math, we're seeing some good progress with our kindergarten students with counting and cardinality. So you know what counting is. Cardinality is just knowing how many numbers are in a set. And that there's more to be done in the area of subtraction. I like to frame things from a developmental perspective, and developmentally, kids are much more able to put items together. That's easier for their brains to comprehend. The subtraction is much more abstract, so it's harder for them. We use lots of hands-on materials, but that is an area of growth that our kindergarten team noted. For first grade English language arts, they are seeing increases in all the domains since winter, which is a really positive thing. I'm glad to be able to report that. An area for future growth is the retelling of stories. I will say that first graders definitely practice that a lot, if you've ever talked to a 7-year-old. But thinking about the retelling of stories in after listening to a story or reading a passage, being able to articulate what happened first, what happened next, and making sure that the stories are in order and accurate. With math, our first grade team notes that they're seeing some good progress with students adding and subtracting within 20, as well as counting up to 120. And that there's some ongoing questions about students and how they're grasping data and the graphing. They're noticing with ELA and with math, they're grappling with comparing their observational assessments of students and what they're able to see students doing, say, in their calendar routine or more informally when a child is doing activities in the classroom, that's still not quite matching up with what we're capturing with iReady data. So they're thinking about that quite a bit. And I'm going to say a little bit more about that after I talk about second grade. So moving on to second. I am really seeing our second grade team this year. They jumped in with both feet with the UFly instruction. I saw a really good commitment to that phonics instruction and really working hard to get those foundational skills in place for early literacy, and just really trying to instill a joy of reading in our youngest learners, which I appreciate. We see that there's room for growth and improvement across the board in second grade. In math, I'm seeing some good small group instruction, a big heavy focus on games, and a general playfulness in how we present materials to students with our second grade team. But the team is also noting that, by the time they're in second grade, they have the opportunity, because they've been in school for two previous years, for some of them 3 if they attended TK, that they're behind. That's not something that our kindergarten team is dealing with, because everybody enters kindergarten. You don't have the chance to be 2 levels below grade level because they haven't been there yet. But the second grade team is noting that when kids are coming in below grade level, it's a bit of a heavier lift to try to get kids up to speed. So one of the things that I'm really going to focus on next year is really supporting all of our grade levels, kindergarten, first, and second, with not just using iReady for the diagnostic assessment, but also making sure, and with the help of our instructional coach, that teachers are assigning lessons within iReady so that students are getting practice time, engaging in that platform so that they're familiar with it. We don't want to have the iReady diagnostic assessment be the only time that they're assessed. So working with our teams to really make that site-wide commitment to do that. And you'll see in some of the notice and wonder that teachers are wondering about students' familiarity with the platform and their online skills, so making sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to practice before we're assessing. Next year, we're also going to continue with our commitment to UFly. We've seen some great growth with those foundational skills, and I want to build on that and provide teachers with the support that they need in those areas. You're also going to hear more from me and from Jamie about writing. We're going to be able to report back to you on writing growth over time. Teachers worked with our instructional coaches and with Kelly Smith on developing rubrics and student anchor papers so that, and they also practice scoring those papers so that they're familiar with, what does this level 3 paper look like? And they had some really good conversations about, well, I think we're being too hard on this, or no, we really have to have this standard. So they've come to agreement on that, and I'm looking forward to sharing out about that. We got some good feedback. We did a survey about our work that we've been doing with Kelly Smith and with the instructional coach. Got some feedback from teachers about what's going to be more helpful, what was less helpful, so that we can differentiate the work that teachers are doing with our professional development in the coming year. I'm looking forward to that. And we worked with Kelly to develop a new data analyzer. So I think the data that we're able to present to you next year is going to be much more streamlined. We're going to have really clear percentages about how many of the kids are working at or above grade level. We're going to be able to compare that over time just with a quick snapshot, an overview on the writing assessment as well. So there's definitely room for growth at Redwood, but I'm really proud of the work that our teachers have done and proud of our students' progress. What questions do you have for me?
So it looks like everyone's moving up and there's definitely growth. So looking forward, will you have the student target groups that you want to help all students, but are you going to change your lens and maybe look at a targeted group of student group?
We
or?
always keep an eye on our English learners and our students with disabilities. So we definitely consider those students in particular, in addition to looking at students as a whole.
Perfect.
Yes. Other questions?
In some of your screens, you say you want to focus on student growth rather than student mastery. Can you explain that a little bit?
That's something that I think teachers want to note, that we're seeing progress. I think it's important to consider both. We can't just look at student growth, because if we're only making a percentage or two of growth over time, we're not going to get to the mastery. So we've got to keep those high expectations and keep our lessons rigorous, engaging, hands-on for our students. So I think we're going to have to find a balance between both. But I know that that's something that the teachers noted that they're thinking about.
Any other questions?
We always, not that we have any control over this, but are there resources that you need to assist in intervention, or how do you decide what the next intervention is? Is there a need for that? What does that look like?
We've got 2 reading intervention teachers. I think our next hurdle is to get more teachers familiar with UDL, which is Universal Design for Learning, and really making sure that teachers feel comfortable offering a variety of ways that students can share their understanding of a concept, as well as differentiate how they're teaching, consider learning styles, consider how students can express themselves. We've got 2 days coming up in August where the county is providing some training on UDL, and I've already heard from a bunch of teachers who've said, yes, I went in on that. I think that there's more that we could do from a district perspective to try to offer those during our admin ER days, and I'm working with the county and with Carolyn Carini on that. But I think that would be the direction I'd like to go.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, 8.4, Fort Bragg High School benchmark data report. Mr. Anderson.
All right, I think we can skip to slide 3 as well. So kind of, first of all, I'm excited about where we are with our benchmarks right now and being able to look at things longitudinally and latitudinally as far as having something that is the same going across all 3 years that we're testing. In science is doing a good job of helping support the math with some of their parts that they're emphasizing. And we're trying to have history help support the English. The part that I like in that they're very, what I deem valuable life skills, and being able to look at data and make an argument, model it with math or science, graph it, interpret it, make predictions in the English and the history, taking a look at 2 different sides of a pro and a con, an article, make a claim and support that claim. And so to me, those are super valuable skills that we're now all on board with across departments. So we'll go through that out of here from this slide, just that we have 52% of students at 70 or higher, which would be kind of proficient or advanced in our ELA. Go ahead and to the next slide, please. In this slide, I think we can see the green there is the second compared to the first benchmark. And towards the end, the much higher scores there with students being more clear of what the expectations were, what was being asked, that it was affecting their grade, and gave it a super solid effort. I think when it's not attached to something, it's less meaningful for them. So to tie it to that, next slide, please. This one was that the things that they want to work on are that what they're doing well is citing evidence, which is important. And what they want to work on here is the importance of sequencing things. And that's an area of growth that the English department would like to focus on moving forward. Next slide. Here, this was talking about the areas for improvement. Their 2 least successful things that they were evaluating were determining meaning in text and plan and using context to decipher meaning in words. So those are points of emphasis that they want to try to do a better job of moving forward. Next slide, please. So moving on to science. Here we see that there's an 11% gain in making a claim and a 7% gain in using a graph effectively. They would like to do a better job of using data within the claim. So that's something that, okay, we've got some stuff, we're making an argument or a claim or a hypothesis, and they're not using data to support that as well as the science department would like. Next slide, please. Here was some parts that I took back as the increased graph of the week. That's something that the math department has used as well, as taking a graph and interpreting it. What do you notice? What do you wonder? And they're going to try to bring that back in a weekly fashion. That maybe doing some peer reviews of things, of the benchmarks, and sharing what good examples actually look like. Like here's the statement and here's the data plugged in to make the claim. So trying to do a little bit more. Those were the things that they were going to try to up their progress. Next slide, please. The math here, the Algebra 1 started relatively high, much higher than I anticipated that it would have. And we're 82% are at that advanced proficient. The benchmark came a little later this year due to the loss of Illuminate and trying to figure out how we're going to organize this data. And I think to Mrs. Paoli's question earlier about having to target specific groups, I think that's something that we need more organizational tools and ways to organize that data to be able to pinpoint when and where and how. Right now, that doesn't exist for us. I think whether we're going Excel expert or some kind of, we're looking at how to plug it into Aries, but we haven't figured it out yet. The analytics is there, but the geometry was quite a bit less, and that's not a focus within that class. It's really kind of an algebra task, but it's one that lends itself all the way through math curriculum. But I think once they reviewed it and saw it, you can see that the geometry jumped up to 81% passing in the second benchmark compared to 66. And the Algebra 2 are kids that are generally pretty solid math students to start with. Next slide, please. Here, one of the things in looking at the test a little bit, as I was able to bop around and kind of look at kids take some tests, there was a tremendous amount of words in the math exam. And so trying to bring in more word problems in a daily situation, encouraging warm-ups to maybe be, at least have wordy directions, not just solve for X. As I was looking over kids' shoulders briefly, those clean of directions didn't exist. Next slide, please. Social studies, I think the big thing here that was glaring was the spring in world history dropped off substantially. That was explained via a maternity leave, and that the people moving in didn't know history until way late. So that's what we're going with, and that we've never seen the scores drop like that in any other year. So believable. Next slide. I didn't have a whole lot on this one. Let's go to world languages. So here, one of the things that I'm not sure if people are aware that we're really excited about at the high school is having a BYU language option for kids, and that we'll have 2 different sections where kids will be able to take sign language or Arabic or Cantonese or Mandarin, and BYU will supply the curriculum, the instruction, and we'll have a teacher monitoring progress through that. So we're super excited to offer that option, especially to our Hispanic population who hasn't had a choice to explore another language in the past. Here, I think the benchmark number 2, the 29% that was at basic in the second one, where there were none basic in the first one, that stood out to me. I wasn't exactly sure where that discrepancy came from. Next slide, please. The Spanish 2 data, they were talking about trying to clean up and the noun adjective agreements was a place that they wanted to try to focus on for improvement. Next slide, please. what they noticed in here was when they went to look at absenteeism compared to test results, that there was a pretty high correlation for the kids that weren't there were the ones that were not doing well on the exam. And last slide. The one of the things here that they wanted to focus on with the verbal component of the exam was making sure that kids felt safe and that they could risk not saying something correctly, and that they weren't be judged or ridiculed, and that it was be a safe place for them to practice their Spanish. That's all I have. Do you have questions of me?
Can I just clarify? So your science was saying that they were showing kind of model work to students so they knew what to work towards?
That
Is
was one of the things
which
that
I like.
to revisit
Mhm.
what a good
What the standard is, what they're,
Exactly.
because I think that would make someone go, might need to put a little more effort in it if that's the standard, because you really they don't know otherwise. And then is there any way to curb the history, the blurb, where someone, I mean, it was a planned leave, but I think that it didn't go as planned. So is
Correct.
that something that it just happened? I mean, does it normally
Yeah,
happen? There's-
the child came way early,
Right,
so we just weren't in line. The person that knew the history was locked into the middle school at that time.
gotcha.
So to get them over here, we had to finish that commitment at the middle school.
Right.
And
I just,
then-
yeah, it's tricky because if it was planned or not planned, that must be exposure to any site. So I don't know how they recoup that, because someone's on leave, they're on leave. So how do they, they can't really help. So that must, I'm thankful we don't have that often.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
So,
Finding quality replacements and substitutes is a challenge. Finding full-time employees, we still have an English position that has yet to be filled. We got the math filled, which was super exciting. Yeah, it can be tricky finding quality people to step in that have the expertise to teach.
in the spring.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Kids are more squirrely.
they can be for sure.
Yeah. Thanks.
Other questions?
Well,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Fort Bragg High School campus highlights.
The fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yes, this is the
there
fun
has fun stuff for sure. The spring is crazy busy. Finding time to sneak in different things can be challenging, and unfortunately, sometimes kids have to choose. But with this one, they did not. So the spring carnival was a success, and for the littles and the bigs. It's an exciting time on campus to see kids light up, both the big faces and the little faces, just having a great day around campus. Some Link Crew activities. Link Crew is something that I believe makes a positive difference on our campus with the mentoring of the freshmen by juniors and seniors who get trained by 4 staff members, and it helps create a positive school culture on campus. The top one is toilet paper prom. The right top is making slime. Bottom left is a training, and I think that's more slime. Ag Field Day, Dana Gray, lots of fun. We live in a place where agriculture is an important facet for many, and way to make a living, and to the farm to table and agro-tourism. There's a lot of positive things that happen within the ag department, and to share that with Dana Gray was exciting and a big success. awards night. This was for Ag, a well put together event honoring students and staff with their many accomplishments through the agricultural department. Career Day, we had over 100 professionals on campus explaining their pathways, sharing their expertise, what a typical day looks like for them, answering questions, and getting some of them were hands-on, a feel for what takes. Over 700 kids on campus, I think. Just a super positive day. Sometimes I think we put a lot of pressure on kids to know what they want to do and for them to have an opportunity to explore. And I think it's equally as valuable sometimes to check things off like, that does not interest me, is equally as valuable as inciting a passion or an exploration. A little walk through Dana Gray, a fun little time, lots of high fives with a walk on the senior class through right after a graduation practice. And then the graduation ceremony with the translated speeches and the app we felt was really well. It's good to know on the bottom left there that Bruce still has less hair than I do. Though he's been at this job longer, so I'm catching him. Avid on the bottom right. Super fun to be a part of that and the success that program breeds. And then everybody cherishing their time and honoring the community with their contributions and making this a super positive experience. Any questions on other activities that I may not have made the slideshow, but you're curious about?
Well, I'm not curious, but I just wanted to say I volunteered for the Career Day freshman interviews and the senior boards, and they're all very well planned out. I mean, as a guest on campus, you always feel welcome. The kids are engaged, asking good questions, and it's streamlined. So I appreciate your staff getting that all together.
Yeah,
So it was
those
really
are
fun.
super positive and empowerful types of events that the freshmen take very seriously. There's definitely some beady, sweaty, shaking hands. The palms were a little wet, and
Well, one of them got a job out of it, so.
awesome.
So on that note, are you sticking around or are you gonna take off?
Like right now?
Let me just, instead of doing my shout out later, I just want, I attended those same events. So the senior boards, the career day, and the freshman interviews. And I'm gonna get all emotional because I think once an educator, always an educator. And we hear at this level how bad things are. Like kids aren't succeeding, the pandemic has ruined them. I mean, it's all negative.
It's a crock.
When I walked out of that,
We're killing it.
Yes, I told the kids that when I went into the interview, we're supposed to give feedback, and I said, the world's saying that kids are crumbling. I said, but you guys are resilient. The staff is amazing. Fort Bragg Unified has done an amazing job to get these kids out of the pandemic, and it's phenomenal. I mean, every freshman and I know they're struggling. I know that behind that they may still be struggling, but those kids, they stood up, they shook their hand, they prepared. I mean, all of them. And you're supposed to have a cross section, and it's not all the successful kids or the top whatever % of the kids. So anyway, I just want to make sure that the district knows and the site knows that Fort Bragg Unified's rocking it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's,
The high school is in a good place right now. I think the culture is solid. The resources that we have with Thrive and other places to just be aware of kids that are struggling and to have places to plug them in. And I think people are just more aware and policing it better. And it's not foolproof, but I think we're catching more kids and have appropriate places to put them.
And the resiliency in the seniors, I mean, that's listening to them at their senior boards. You know, 10 years ago when kids used to practice in my room, there were still kids that literally looked like they were gonna throw up before they come up there. And now I think because of the kind of the baby steps and the scaffolding that kids have throughout to do public speaking and talk to adults and things like that, that they're doing a great job. And I hope that they know that just as much as the
I'll pass
staff.
it along,
Yeah.
but
The kids are doing a great job.
yeah,
good
the
stuff.
boards were top to bottom, the
Yeah.
best I had in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks
So
for the
maybe
feedback.
maybe the pandemic helped them because they had to look at themselves while they're talking on the computers, which is hard for the public speaking part of it.
I'm not sure that helped much of anything.
The screens. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah, okay.
thank you, Tim. All right, moving on. Next is the Mindfulness Through Martial Arts Program update.
So I asked Izzy and Owen to join us to kind of give us an update. I'm excited to know that we have funding that we built into the community schools grant that should be able to, with the board's approval, once we actually have the money in hand, be able to continue to fund this program. So I'd like for them to share their successes. It's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I'm Izzy.
I'm Owen.
So we run therapeutic trauma-informed mindfulness and martial arts programs throughout the county. We're in a few different locations. We're in Covelo, we're in Laytonville. We're now here, we're in Juvenile Hall. We do stuff with Child Protective Services, a variety of different organizations. So we began this in March, and this is really, we just wanted to get it going. Talked with Joe. Joe shared with you guys some of the program, and just get on the ground and kind of see how it unfolds, see how it works. Little bit of background information. So we're doing 3rd through 12th grade at this point. So we're at Dana Gray, middle school and high school, and at the alt ed site as well. So just some numbers in terms of engagement. So with the elementary 3rd through 5th, very engaged. We had full classes, 40 kids were enrolled. There was a wait list. So we were looking at that on our side, looking at with our team of, okay, how can we meet the demand? And it is, of course, the younger they start, more ideal, because then this is a program that builds on itself year after year after year. I believe the wait list, I don't know the exact number, but I think we were looking at around 30 kids or so. So it was a good, solid wait list. The middle school was really interesting that, we had a pretty small group at the beginning, and I'd say we probably had about, in the very beginning, 8 to 12 kids. It was somewhere around there. And then we ended up through a series of events, just by chance, one day being next to the library, we noticed we had way more foot traffic. Kids are, who are you? What are you doing? And then numbers started to increase. So I think our total number of kids with middle school is around 20. And then high school, it was interesting with the high school because kids who were engaged were very engaged, but we didn't have a lot of them. But interestingly, there were 6 kids at the high school, but at the alt ed site, there was also 6 kids. And we know the numbers in terms of total kids are vastly different. So we're kind of exploring that, talking with the high school and exploring how can we increase that level of engagement. And so anything you would add before?
Well, like every community is different, and also each population of kids are different. So this is, it's kind of new. Sorry, it's kind of new for us to be. We're basically like learning how like each age of kids, like how to bring the mindfulness component, the martial arts component, where we're really matching sort of their developmental stages. And one of the things really across the sites that we've been at is that the elementary school kids is like, teacher says, hey, here's what you're doing. They just come on in and they're all meditating, they're all practicing martial arts, and it's really easy. And then in middle school is sort of where like boys and girls start to separate a little bit, and there, a little bit of like puberty stuff starts coming in. And so like from the therapeutic side, there's some really like great stuff that can start to be addressed, some really great resilience and some great psychoeducation, but it's a little bit trickier in that bodies become more embarrassing, touching each other becomes more embarrassing. And so like we've been looking at how we're targeting that. Does it make more sense to have a girls only group? We also have a staff member who's female. We're looking to have 2 staff members that are female next time. And we've had a couple of issues come up where girls have like disclosed certain things to Laura during group, where we're like, okay, this is excellent therapy. And we touch in with the school staff. And then at the high school level, it seems like it's sort of like even more, it's super impactful for the kids who it really speaks to them. But I think in some ways it's even like more vulnerable. And so if kids have another friend who's doing it, then it's like really comfortable and they come every time. But I think that we're really learning how elementary school kids and high school kids have really, I mean, they have different therapeutic needs anyways, but bringing the meditation and martial arts into it, we're still fine-tuning how to present it and how to deliver it, so we're maximizing sort of the developmental stages for each population. So yeah, and basically we're using mindfulness and martial arts to build resilience, to do sort of light level therapy, but if we really discover that like there's a bigger issue that, well, anything that comes up, we would work with the principals or with the counselors on site to sort of like, because we're building like, nervous system, relaxation skills, body awareness, social skills, basically resiliency skills to help kids cope with whatever it is that's coming up. But working in concert with the counselors at the school for, doing more intensive sort of like specific therapeutic things. Yeah.
Just a few other things before we jump into the video. So one is, I think it's just good that you're just aware of our background, so you see where we're coming from with this. So my background is in teaching. I was a teacher in LA for about 4 years. I have a master's degree in education, and Owen is a licensed therapist, right? And so we bring this together where my focus tends to be more on building the culture in the classroom, creating a really, really safe environment with a group of kids. And then Owen and I, we go back and forth. We talk to Laura with our team about the clinical interventions as is appropriate, as it shows up. Other thing, and that I think, especially sitting there and hearing you share, Kathy, that, and kind of sometimes at the higher level, you hear about here's the darkness and here's the badness. I think we have really seen being here and just have loved and been so touched and inspired by was the consistency across the board from leadership. I mean, it's really remarkable. I mean, you have just the level of communication that Joe has given to us, the level of freedom that he gives us, but also level of clarity. But that trickles all the way down to just at each site. Working with Bruce, working with Laura, working with Jamie, just all of them. With Kristen. I mean, they're so clear, but they're clear, and they give us a level of freedom. And you see it right down with the teachers, and you can feel the level of love for the kids, and you see it in the kids, right? You see it in the kids what we would say is these kids are happy to be at school. Mm-hmm. They are happy to be there, and the staff has great relationships with the kids. I mean, we can sit in the principal's office, and it's remarkable. I mean, these are, you guys got good-sized schools, and the principal, they know the kids' names. Mm-hmm. They know the backstories. I mean, it's really cool. So we love being a part of that. So we're really grateful to be able to be here sharing this. Next other piece about that's important is, we're learning and working on how do we most effectively collect data for a program like this. Right? We initially started with doing surveys. So that was kind of what we initially thought, and we tried that, and we were doing that in other sites as well. But it just became clear for what we were doing that it wasn't collecting the right type of data that we wanted to collect, because we started to notice the kids who were like this marking on the thing that they weren't anxious or they had high focus. And you started to notice the actual kids who were more self-aware were actually being much more nuanced in their responses. And so we're exploring a variety of different ways in terms of qualitative data that we can be collecting more on site, and just looking for more effective ways to do that. So we just want to share that because we initially had planned to do it through survey, pre-post, but we just kind of quickly realized this is not, like we could do it, but it's really not providing any data of value present. So.
Well, and one of the things that did stand out though is that the Fort Bragg kids in general had a higher mindfulness IQ than the kids from the other schools that we were working at. So like they were more fluent in mindfulness language, and they were better able to access things like breathing techniques and awareness of their body than some of the kids were in the other schools. So just speaking to what you were saying, that like Forbright is doing a great job, and that even in the younger kids, there was a pretty high like IQ for awareness of mindfulness and like how that affects our body and social skills and all those kinds of things. But we're still trying to, we came up with one survey for everybody, and it seems pretty clear that like high school students and second graders maybe need different things. And then we also just want to make sure that we're not demonstrating that they're getting worse as they become more aware of what the questions mean. So however data is collected, it needs to be very scaffolded. We know through the qualitative data that like we've got fantastic data that they're practicing the skills, so they're gaining competence in the skills. We can see that from video evidence, but how we're scoring that to measure it is, we're still kind of untangling that.
Who think we'll jump into the videos? We'll see.
Do you want me to just go in order?
No, I'll point it. I'll point at some.
You let me know where you want to start.
Yeah, so we'll go so you're going to see a variety of things. You'll see some meditation. You'll see us upping their energy and them having to regulate their energy. You'll see them doing like some like physical stuff where we're big on mental toughness, resilience, developing these types of skills. So we'll share the videos and then we'll go from there. So let's start with maybe this one. This is just to see the meditation. So this is our middle school group. Are you able to turn the sound up? Or is it... So we're here. You can't hear some, but we're walking them through meditation. We've taught them that. They're focused on their breath. You see the so you hear the band actually playing. So the band in the middle, because the band's here, but it worked out the band. And we worked with the band teacher and said, this is mindfulness practice. It's a test. We'll see it. Be as loud as you want over there. We'll see. And the kids did great.
They just send through. Yeah, exactly. It was like the cadence.
So do this one. So this one, you're going to see that we're actually going to have them intentionally raise their energy.
Okay, so eyes open, looking toward me. All right, so here's what we're going to do. So we just did a lot of rolls, brought up our energy, and sometimes our energy gets a lot big, and so then we learned how to control and center it. So now here's what happened. When my hand goes up, you're going to start staying seated, but you want big energy. So as my hand goes up, you're so start being big with your energy. Exactly. So you want to see now. So here's what we're going to do the test. Is I'm going to start kind of changing the energy, and then if my hand goes totally down like this and touches my leg, immediately drop into meditation. So we're going to intentionally get energy big, and we're going to see how quickly you can be totally focused with meditation. We're going to see, okay?
And match the level of the arm, how intense your energy is.
Let's see, who's dropping into meditation? Ty is totally in meditation. Total control.
Excellent, Lily. RJ, fantastic meditation. Very nice, Max. Excellent meditation.
Merv, fantastic. Oh, excellent.
That's good. Maybe let's do that. So this you'll see doing a little bit of physical training. We do a lot of core work. Keeps us fit. But you'll see. So this is where, and with the core work, it's important to understand that we don't ever force the kids. They're never forced.
Excellent, Angel.
They
Strong
can take a break
legs.
anytime they want, and they choose to rejoin. They're feeling when it's a part.
Excellent, Zen, pushing through. Excellent, Leslie, pushing
Legs
through.
are up. Legs are up and we're crunching. Excellent, jumping in, leg up. So now we got legs up. Notice Ivan's doing it. Crunching. Legs up, crunching. Look at my legs. Excellent, Zen. So we're now kicking legs out, kicking legs out. Good, Lily, good energy. Good, Angel. Nice.
If you go down, is it up?
No? You had 10.
Oh, there, okay, so this is, so we've seen the third grade group, you've seen the middle school group a couple times, so this is the fourth, fifth grade group. We set a time, and we want them to keep going during like this
Seconds.
month, so they're challenging themselves.
1 second, go. Nice, good awareness, noticing what's around you. Nice, Bowden, use it. Shane, nice, good rolls. Good, John, you're protecting head and neck. See it for head. Nicholas, very nice. That was very nice. Excellent. Nice, Frank. Good, excellent protecting head and neck. Henry, great. That's protecting head and neck. Good, Shane, protecting head and neck. Let's see it, Xander. Good. Those are nice, Mateo. Good. Excellent, Jimena. Good. Nice. How does it feel, Xander? Feels good? Looks good. As long as you're protecting head and neck.
You can see, I mean, it looks like there's just a whole lot going on, but there's a whole bunch of things that they're doing in terms of learning how to protect their head and neck. Number one way that people get hurt is falling, and it's hitting on the head, certain parts of their back. So there's a certain level of mindfulness that is required while they're doing all of this, and we're of course walking them through all those things.
Statistically, we know that at least one of those kids is gonna fall down in the next year and is more likely to save themselves by learning how to fall than by learning self-defense. Like, it will happen to one of those kids that they'll talk on ice skating instead of hitting their head.
Well, one of the things about, like a benefit that we've seen with a program like this is it's accessible to kids that want to get physical, but they don't necessarily have that opportunity in other things in the same way. And so I think this is a cool video of two boys that are, they're big boys. I think they're seventh grade, but they're big boys, and just seeing them like supporting each other and working with each other. Working on a particular
This
stretch.
this head of
With the legs to help them with rolls.
Cool. Yeah, you kind of lift your hips up, James. There you go. Good. Like that. Good. Nice, James. That's great. It's excellent, guys. That's fantastic. It's like way more fun. Yes, James, that's awesome.
This one is like, this is a fun one, I think. Yeah, so you'll kind of see this is kind of it's like organized chaos. Coaching them on how you stay focused in it. So you see what we're talking about. You stay with it and you keep going. We'll do one last video and we'll see if we have any questions or anything that comes up. Just to show, so here's this video, you'll see a little bit more of a like just to practice a little bit of the physical intensity they get to practice with each other, which especially for like middle school, all the kids are.
So your right leg over right. Yes, get that frame on his neck. Yes, neck and hip, neck and hip. Good. Just breathe and turn your body toward. Nice. That's great on the hip and down. Get your hip out. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, that was it. That was it. Nice, Dylan. That was good. And Jose, great level challenge. That's excellent.
mean, I think that's a pretty good example of basically what we're trying to do is to get the nervous system triggered a little bit, and then to have them practice, and meditation, mindfulness, to be able to basically regulate their nervous system, what's going on, and then we're just constantly bringing in like positive identity building, social skills awareness. We're practicing like reading body language, and it's all stuff that it's required for effective high-level martial arts. Like to do competition of martial arts, you have to be able to relax, or any kind of sport really. But it touches the sensations and the emotion in the body, the emotions in the body. It sets up a level of triggering, and then the group, you can see everything's positive. It's always positive feedback, and so we're teaching them basically like how to regulate their nervous systems, and how to practice focusing. Get them a little bit riled up, and then they're meditating. Get them a little bit riled up, and then they're meditating. So they're just constantly practicing, like focusing. Questions?
Questions?
So how do they fit it into their school day? Because I've been able to view a few at the middle school, and I know that was it was after lunch, so sixth period. How does each site handle that?
So each site kind of handles it differently. At Dana Gray, I don't think it's really much of an issue necessarily within the day. They just find the time that works well.
Mm-hmm.
At middle school, they try to keep it in after lunch when it's affecting more kids. It's more of the electives at that time, just with the schedule. It's not 100%, but
Right.
we try to ensure that they have that, and that the teachers are in agreement as well. And high school, I am not sure. I don't know what time you guys are pulling out with the high school. I know we talked about when we talked about Wednesdays, it was going to be after school, but I don't know if that's still.
Yeah, the high school we do it just before lunch, and we talked with Bruce about it, and tried to coordinate a time and works with all the sites and everything. It seemed like that made the most sense, because then you can do it, and then you have some space after. Then in terms of the alt-ed site, we just coordinated with Kristen about a time to work.
Right. So I imagine the high schools, because you're competing with sports.
Yeah.
So there's so much academic rigor as well, so I'm not surprised the numbers are low. But I'm
Right,
sure
'cause according to the bulletin, they're missing the same period, the same time every week, right? It was Friday, fourth period, I think. So that, I agree, I think that might be hard for kids to make a commitment to miss one day a week every.
Because I'm sure there's kids that, that this would be perfect for, but yeah, finding that perfect time, because there's a lot of kids that don't like sports. And this would be a way to get into a healthy sport.
Right. Or maybe alternating weeks, so it's not the same class or something.
Yeah, I don't know how you would schedule that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a crazy
Yeah.
master
Yeah.
schedule. Great, thank you.
Use assets.
Assets? Any assets?
Oh.
Yeah.
And maybe just if if the site knew the kids that were interested in what their ideas would be.
Yeah.
But then it still has to fit with your schedule too. so.
Right. Because we're not the only gig. Yeah.
That's exciting. You had a wait
Yeah.
list. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's great.
Yeah.
Glad that we can hopefully get the funds to expand it and let more kids experience it. It's good to get physical and get that, just take a moment to take a deep breath. It's very important. Yeah,
A lot of fun.
I bet.
We've heard nothing but great things anecdotally from students and teachers and admin. So thank you very much for your support of our kids.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else? Okay,
Any public comment?
thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, take care.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for,
Help us out there, Ben.
So I'm assuming there's no.
all right, moving on to superintendent report. In a moment.
Sorry, just
Oh, you're good.
Technical.
had to make sure that the show can go on.
Show can go on. Well, we have a large audience.
Yes. Okay.
Even on that?
So super.
Huh?
0 viewers.
0? Oh my gosh.
It's a record.
Wow.
Charlie
Okay.
Gonzalez.
He's out of town.
Oh, gotcha.
We're hoping for one.
Okay, so we had, of course, the end of year promotions and graduations, so I really appreciate the board members who could participate in that. We graduated 125 students this year and had 7 adult school graduates. We obviously had huge community support with $345,000 in scholarships that were awarded to our seniors. So we really appreciate our community for all of that, because I would say almost all of that came directly in our community. You know, there were a couple of larger outside scholarships, but almost all of it was here. So that was amazing. As far as transportation and facilities, we've started many projects in the district. You heard a little bit about it with Don. We also, outside of the bond stuff, we have Redwood getting a kitchen remodel. So if you walked into the actual kitchen, there is nothing right now. It's completely blank canvas because they pulled out all of everything. They're going to pour a floor there, so an epoxy floor, and then install everything up on top of that with new ovens that are already in district, and new countertops. They're going to actually have to fabricate those out of with stainless steel. So it's a really cool thing that was funded through the kitchen infrastructure funds that were provided through the state as well. Dana Gray is cleaning out old and outdated materials, so Jamie is just bound and determined. I think we filled up 2 dumpsters so far, and also in May we had a surplus list of items that they were getting rid of. We had a little yard sale where basically the public came and paid us, so we didn't have to pay to dispose of it. So it was kind of a nice thing where everybody came and got something. You know, if you wanted something that was $1, kept it nice and simple, but they were able to take some things off of our hands that would have otherwise just, and we advertised far and wide. We had MCRPD came and got some things, and I think the charter school came and got some things. So we tried to ensure that anybody who needed it first got that, and then opened it up to the public. At the high school here, we have the student union flooring is being replaced. That may have finished today.
I think so.
Wow.
Okay.
He said it looks great.
So they got it done quickly. It's the same type of flooring that we have in the hallways at the middle school. So super durable, has been just a really great investment over the year that we've had it there. I think it still looks as good as the day we put it in. So that can't always be said for flooring. So, and we just thank our custodial and maintenance staff for their hard work this summer, because there's a lot going on. A lot of room moves, you know, trying to maximize our space and figure out all those pieces as we go through, because got a lot going on in our district. As far as summer school goes, we have 248 students who are participating in summer school, so that's a really good number. We have 27 teachers, 38 staff members. The program's up and running. Today was day 2. And our partners at Flockworks are providing summer programming for TK through 6th grade students this year, until about 6 o'clock each day, and we have about 100 students participating there. So I think we've got some great programming going on. I know that we're also busing, couldn't find an adequate facility at Dana Gray for our TKK students, so they're actually being bused over to the normal kudos room at Redwood, because it's not being affected by the instruction or the construction right now. So. It's been a long week.
Yeah.
A little update on Community Schools Grant. We're still waiting on our final word regarding the total funding. Like, come on, let's get to it. We do have on the agenda tonight the Community Schools Coordinator job description. We have planning grant funding that helps support that as well, so that will definitely cover for next year, but it's also written into the grant, and we'll, I'm sure, revise that budget if what I think is coming is coming. So. And then summer professional development, I thought I'd put in a little update on where our staff will be this summer. We've got folks who are participating in, as you heard, Universal Design for Learning. So some of that is local with the teachers will be participating with the SELPA. We have our administrators who will actually be going to the Universal Design for Learning, the kind of overarching group there is called CAST, and they have their international convention is actually in Sacramento at the end of July. So we're going to use that as our admin retreat this year, is to go there, have some time that we get to work on stuff, but also they get to participate in that conference. Hopefully with an emphasis on the leadership and any pieces that we can pick up around mathematics instruction. We have SELPA Summer Institute, which is
SELPA is?
Special Education Local Plan Area, which doesn't tell you a whole lot more about
No.
it. But they help support all of our special education activities in the county here. And so they do a week-long, so part of that is the UDL, the Universal Design for Learning stuff, but there's also, they have other topics. And so folks can sign up for the whole week, or they can sign up for individual days. So we have folks participating in that. We have folks who are going down to Anaheim to get trained in computer science. So there were some pretty sweet grants that are paying for all of their housing and travel expenses, all that kind of thing, for a 5-day long program down there. So I'm interested.
Doesn't go through the district? No?
Nope. Other than we had to sign off saying it was okay for them to attend a few meetings in the fall virtually. So no cost for us, and some pretty cool outcomes that they'll get. And then we have our middle school teachers are going to project-based learning at the Buck Institute. So they went last summer, a group of them, and this year some of them are going back for part 2 and some are coming on for part 1. So, and project-based learning to me is just another way of saying universal design for learning. So there are things that kind of fold together. It's really nice. And then we have a group of teachers, instructional assistants, and administrators that are going to the multi-tiered systems of support, the MTSS conference, and that is in mid-July in Anaheim as well. So Anaheim's getting a lot of business this time of year. But this will be the 3rd year that we're taking a sizable group down. Much of this is being funded through a grant through MCOE. So again, not a lot of cost to the district, and any cost is already, we have MTSS funds at those sites that will pick up those extra costs. So.
And I think there's an Avid group going somewhere.
Oh, there is Avid too, yeah. And this late last night.
Sorry.
No,
I just happened to know
I appreciate you
Dana
bringing
Gray,
that
I'm
up.
excited because Dana Gray's, I hear Dana
Yes.
Gray's going.
Yes, so we've got some teachers from Dana Gray who are also going with the typical Avid. I don't remember, were they going to the North State or there was one in Sacramento and one in San Diego?
I think they're going to Sacramento.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Sacramento, okay. I know there was some discussion and pardon me, after the week.
No, I completely understand, but I'm just excited because it's going to elementary.
Yes.
So that's.
I'm super excited that we get to see it come down to our 3rd through 5th grade and start building that base.
You're right.
And other than that, we've got plenty of other things to talk about.
Just real quick, how are the electric buses and the chargers and what's happening?
So we're still waiting on PG&E. We're on PG&E time at this point. So I will talk to Barry. He's had so much going on with the construction piece. I don't know that he's had a lot of energy to put into pursuing that right now. But I'll ask him to follow up with PG&E and see if we can put some pressure to get at least some timing figured out. I don't anticipate that it'll have a huge impact on the bus barn necessarily, other than maybe power outage for a little while, a few hours or something like that while they're hooking things up. So.
Any other questions? Okay, keep going. California Schools Employee Association report.
Never seen it.
Fort Bragg District Teachers Association report.
And nothing there either.
All right. Moving on to the consent calendar. Item 9. Kathy, if you want to
Read them?
Yes, please.
So we have warrants, and I have to click one to get the dates, but for May, and then the minutes from the board workshop of May 6th and the regular board meeting of May 9th, the personnel reports, teacher consent forms, and contracts.
All right. Is there any items anyone would like to pull, or is there a motion to approve or adopt the calendar? Approve the calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar. Sorry.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 10.1. is a public hearing for the 24-25 Local Control and Accountability Plan. We'll go ahead and open, you want to explain it first? Or just open the hearing?
I'd say you can open the hearing and I can talk a little bit.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing at 7:20.
So excited, I have to say, to get to this point after all the planning and work that we've been doing, to get to a point where we have the plan put together. I think it always in retrospect I'm going, well, we could have done more here and we could have done more. But I think it's a good representation of where we want to go, and we'll continue to build on it through the 3-year cycle, and refine and make it even more. We did provide, attached to this item, the LCAP summary and also in Spanish, so that there's a quick reference documents, 2 pages, that sort of highlights also what some of the new actions are for this year. And some of those, just to highlight, is, as we were talking about, expanding AVID to include our 3rd through 5th grade teachers using Aries Analytics. It's feeling so good that a lot of these already came up tonight. So,
Yeah.
that we're also exploring successful dual language immersion programs and starting to build that out. To develop and implement a newcomer academy for our students in grades 6 through 12, who are multilingual learners who are new to U.S. schools. That we're hiring additional family liaisons through our community schools grant. That we have visitor and volunteer check-in management system at every site. So we sort of started that at the middle school, and that will expand out. Our anonymous incident reporting, and the crisis support that's built into that with Stop It. And then the presence of a school resource officer who is in working at the Fort Bragg Police Department, but being funded jointly between us and the city. So we appreciate the city's support with that. And then this year we also added in our goal 4 that has the reduced chronic absenteeism at alternative education sites because of the equity multiplier funds. There has to be a specific goal in the LCAP. So that's why that one's hanging out there. It's just sort of, we already talk about that, but it has to be called out specifically and focus in for that money in particular. So.
And it has to be just for alternative ed.
Those are the sites that are receiving the equity multiplier funds.
So that was going to be my burning question. I'm thinking, well, we all have to work on this.
Yes, and we talk about
Gotcha.
attendance in other areas within the LCAP, but we had to call out very specifically,
Gotcha.
this is the problem that we think is the most impactful on the lack of student performance in those areas. So, and the equity multiplier funds come to us because of student demographics and student mobility. So because our students kind of move fluidly among those schools, but also from our schools into them, they have a much higher mobility rate than the rest of our schools do. So.
Okay, so the process for approving this is tonight's public hearing.
Tonight is a public hearing. We will have the LCAP is available on our website, and we will receive any comments on it through our meeting next week that we can bring forward. And this is also still a draft, so if there are things that, if you notice something that we need to clarify or add anything to, we're happy to do that during this time as well.
So the last meeting, did you have a 5th goal that you?
I
you
was
ended up smushing it with
considering a 5th goal,
Okay.
and then I started to develop actions, and I was like, they're kind of already encompassed in other places, so
Right.
I
Gotcha.
pulled the 5th goal back off.
Yeah, because it does kind of encompass the engagement,
Yes.
the community, the improved school culture.
Yeah.
So I was just making sure I wasn't dreaming.
You were not. No,
Okay.
I
Okay.
made that decision as I started to kind of go, okay, what are we going to add here? And I was like, oh, well, we kind of already have those
Gotcha.
things.
Okay,
So.
perfect.
First of all, thanks for the summary. It's great to be able to kind of read it, have it all, and it's easy for our community to understand, and
That was the hope.
or at least give them enough information so they can ask questions,
Yes.
right? Because it's all. The metrics for measuring success, I guess specifically on goal 3, so are these metrics for the first year or all 3 years together?
It's more of a summary, really, of those. If you look in the LCAP itself, we have a huge set of metrics that goes in with each goal. I mean, there's probably 12 or 15 in each of the goals of different things that we're measuring. So this is, just trying to bring it into a couple of pages and not have it there. So which goal were you asking about specifically?
Well, this is the only one that has actual percentages. The 5.2 to 4.3 to 93. I don't know if that was just the first year of the 3 years, or if that's.
Yeah, that's just the first year,
Okay.
the 3 years. So just for this coming year.
So then I would just, if that's the case, I would just add 24, 25, so people,
For clarity, yeah,
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
And if that's the case for all, it might be, maybe that's the case for all of them, but a lot of other are more general.
Yeah, they're more general than
Yeah.
the other pieces,
Yeah.
and,
No, this is annually on the
yes.
fourth goal.
Right.
Metrics is annually.
So if people wanted to leave comments, how would they do that?
So they can reach out with our board public comment email address, or they could email me at jaldridge@fbusd.us,
Okay.
or Renee at rholes@fbusd.us.
Perfect. All right, first, so all of you watching, there you go.
Could always be watching later.
Okay, is there any comment? It's public hearing. Is there any further comment, questions from anyone in the audience? No?
There's no public comment.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:26 p.m.
The fastest public hearing I've been to. We've had 1
That's
minute
actually a
before.
long one for
Yeah.
us.
I was gonna say, they're usually a minute.
Well, I think normally we explain the item and then open the public comment
Oh.
or public hearing, but yeah. So 10.2, public hearing for the 2024-25 preliminary budget. I'll open the public hearing at 7:27 p.m.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to explain first. I noticed that the budget overview for parents really belongs with the LCAP, and that'll be moved next week, and there will be a Spanish version as well. I'm getting it translated right now, so we will have that. So the budget is very interesting. The state sort of agreed on something because they have to by June 15th, and then there will be little trailer bills that will clean everything up. There hasn't still been a consensus of the 3 different groups about how they're going to handle the 22-23, that they didn't know what it was going to look like until 23-24, and yet they're still funding 24-25. So we're still a little bit guessing, although it looks like everybody agrees that somehow they're going to at least keep us whole for this year. And then after that, we don't really know what's going on there. We are coming to the end of the spending of our coronavirus relief funds. The last of them need to be spent by September 30th, and so those will be all going away. The other side of that is there are other grants and things that we've been receiving, so those will help us maintain some of the things that we've been doing with the coronavirus relief funds. But we still are deficit spending, especially in our unrestricted area. In the unrestricted area, because a lot of the things would have been paid for with supplemental concentration funds, which is technically unrestricted, even though it sort of is. And so we will be starting to spend that down. And you can see at the bottom of each of the years, the reserve for that. I'm thinking that by the end of the 3rd year, we will probably be spending what comes in supplemental concentration. The other thing that has happened as a result of the pandemic spending is they had a hold harmless year for ADA in 21. And so that artificially increased our rolling 3-year average for longer than it would have. So it means now that our funded ADA is much closer to our actual ADA. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for us moving forward, because we've been relying on that higher hold harmless number. There is in this budget, I have, first one thing in there in the assignments, there's an assignment that I think I called health insurance rate reserve. And the reason for that is Staywell has excess reserves, and the group wanted to return those reserves to the districts, which is fine. That was a great idea. The vote was to use, I think 42% of it, to keep the rates we had for 23-24 the same for 24-25. 23-24 was already a little artificially low because it was based on an exceptionally good year the year before. So if we were paying what the true estimated cost would be, it would have been about a 5% increase from 22-23. But it would have been like 12% from last year. And everybody said, no, we can't do it. So they left it level. It's going to come home to roost. So my suggestion and what I've worked into the budget is the amount that we saved in this year, we're going to squirrel it away so that when those rates start going up, we will have something to cover them with. Because we could, if you look at 3 or 4% only even a year, which is phenomenal for a healthcare plan, you compound that and you're looking at 10% in 3 years. So I think it's a really good idea for us to put that away, and whatever they decide to do next year won't be my issue, but I would encourage that to continue if they do that again, to keep that aside, because that's going to be a huge amount of money. And given the uncertainty of what's going on in the state the next few years, I think it would be really a good idea to do that.
So sorry to interrupt, so when they determine what the rates are going to be every year, Staywell? and then they-
Staywell does. We have well, not an actuary. We have a company called Arrow Benefits that runs numbers and looks at trends and looks at our past history and to see what's going on. And we are self-insured. So the money that goes into the pot is what's used to pay out of the pot. So technically, Blue Shield really has nothing to do with it, or Blue Cross. We just piggyback on their network, essentially. So we look at it, and then on top of what the ins and outs, we have a very healthy reserve that was finally set up that was finally codified in our bylaws, how much it needs to be. And it turned out we had quite a bit more than that. So hence this excess reserve that's there. So Staywell is in a very healthy place. I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm just concerned about districts having to come up with that much more money in 3 years for employee. Our rates are, if you look at our plan, are incredibly affordable given the coverage we have. A lot of people who go away and come back are so happy to come back because they can get back into Staywell. And it really is a good, strong, solid plan. So it's just the way it works is a little different than standard insurance.
Right. And so can we as a district, if we have our own reserve set aside, let's say next year they want to increase it 10%, we as a district can say, great, but we're going to use our reserves to offset 7% of that. And
Well,
we'll
no,
do a
that's not an option.
So-
We pay a certain amount per employee per month.
Okay.
That's it. So how we pay for it is, we've got to figure that out.
Okay.
And every district has a different cap, every district has a different contribution. So that's why it's difficult for everybody to make the same decision, because everybody's looking at it through a different lens.
Right.
So, but what you're talking about is why I'm suggesting we assign this amount. so
But what
that
I
when
think
it
you're saying
happens-
is that we can use this reserve to say we're now, because we pay 80% now?
Yes.
So let's say if it increases, we're gonna cover 85% of that with this money, right? Isn't
Oh,
that
no,
what-
I'm saying that if
Okay,
it
then I'm
goes
not
from
understanding what-
$1,300 a month per employee, which it doesn't matter how it's paid for, we have to send Staywell
Right.
approximately $1,300 a month per employee, per participating employee. How we pay for that, now we pay for it 20% the employees cover and 80% the district covers, not the same for everybody, but we still have to send that much in. So if we If the rate goes up a whole bunch, if it goes up 10% or $130 a month, we still have to send them $1,430 a month
Right.
per employee. What I'm suggesting here is that to help offset that, the district side of that we use that reserve to smooth that out.
Oh, I see, okay. So it's making our 80% not hurt as bad.
Right,
Gotcha.
right. Now, down the road, you could decide to do that, but that would be renegotiating the benefits cap.
Okay. So the employees will still feel it, right? 'Cause
Yes,
that's-
and the district
that's the
will
way-
feel it too.
Right, but not as much, because we have this
But
money
we're
set
planning
aside
for it.
to- Okay,
Right,
got it, thank you.
So.
I understand.
okay. Another amount that I'm suggesting we reserve is in the same fund where you have the board reserve, the 9%. We've got a little bit of a cushion there right now, and I'm suggesting that we start setting that aside and every year set aside an amount for tech upgrade and replacement. We have we have an unbelievable infrastructure right now, and it's running well, and they are also working their tails off this summer to finish up some of the work that was started during the year, because you have to turn things off and on again. So they're doing it this summer while people aren't going to be annoyed by it. But given that, and especially with all of the tech upgrades that we've done since the pandemic, with the TVs and the Chromebooks and the computers and the infrastructure, the cabling and everything else, it's like a roof. You know, sooner or later you're going to have to replace it. So we really need to plan for that. Chromebooks are lovely little devices, but they have planned obsolescence. They can't be upgraded after 5 years. So essentially, we have to replace them every 5 years. And there are other things that just won't live forever. The wireless access points don't live forever. I know it seems like something that doesn't get touched, it doesn't move, why does it wear out? It just does. The battery backups, the teachers' staff laptops, those are all not inexpensive things. So the suggestion is to set aside about $400,000 a year to make sure we can meet those needs as they come up. So we're in a great place right now because using some of the last of the coronavirus leave money, we're going to be able to do a complete refresh on the Chromebooks this year, or soon, I hope, before September 30th. So that'll give us some years to save up to do that again when it has to be done. So I do have that set aside, built into the budget this year. And then there's another pot of insurance that has an excess reserve that's coming in 24-25 that we're going to be reimbursed. And my suggestion is that we do the same thing with that money, set it aside for the tech replacement.
Which fund,
It's in Fund 17, where it's the same fund where the board required 9% reserve is.
Okay. But I mean, where's this excess gonna be? You said we're gonna have more excess next year from another.
No. The workers' comp, our
workers' comp.
rates went down,
Okay.
and our little GPA consortium has done a really good job. And so the other thing that's happened is that consortium had self-funded years way back. And as those claims drop off, then the money that they've been reserving for that just kept getting collected. And so the same thing, that a calculated reserve is perfectly healthy, but there's an excess reserve. So the group voted to return that to the districts.
So, and on the insurance, this is kind of off topic, but I have to ask, so property insurance, are we?
That actually didn't go up terribly much
Oh my God.
for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it went up about $20,000, and that covers all of our vehicles, facilities, and everything else.
Wow.
So, yeah, that wasn't,
You're lucky.
yeah, that wasn't a huge,
I just keep hearing about increases and
I know,
people losing it. and
right.
So I just, so that okay,
Mhm.
that's kind of, those increases are built into your,
Yeah, they are. What is built in is our electric utilities increases. Don't get me started on that. So those are a couple of things that I definitely wanted to bring to your attention on this. The COLA, as you know, went from 0.079 to 1.07, and the state is committing to funding that. PERS went up a smidge, 26.68 to 27.05. I mean, it's still an increase, but. And then you can see in the top of page 2 on my little summary where our actual ADA versus the funded ADA and how that's getting closer and closer to actual because of that rollover, that hold harmless year. One thing that I did notice is that our ADA numbers as a percentage of enrollment were better this year than they have been. So that's creeping back up to where we historically were before the pandemic. So that's good to see, because that year, you know, we lost a whole bunch of kids and we thought most of them would come back, and a lot of them just didn't. So we're working with smaller numbers, but our attendance is definitely creeping back up, so that was good. And the total revenues from 23 to 24, 25 is dropping, and some of that is because of that ADA catching up with the rolling average. And then we always know, I know that third year out looks really scary, but we always know there are positions that we have that are fairly costly that we don't ever fill. Speech language pathologist for one. We have 2 of those positions in the budget because we're flying the positions, but on all likelihood we won't fill them. Is that me? No. Okay. There are other positions that we know that we never are able to fill. We always have a bus mechanic in there, but can't find anybody, so we have to farm that out. So when we get to our unaudited actuals, I think you'll find that third year out will look quite a bit better than it does now, which is not to say that we don't have to watch our deficit spending. So I don't know what else in particular you might have seen in the packet that you might have questions.
I mean, my question was a huge decrease in revenue, but you kind of answered that.
Yeah, some of
It's
it
a lot.
some of it is that, and some of it is because those revenues that we kept rolling over from the coronavirus relief are gone. So
Okay.
those are not
So
rolling
that's
over
all
again.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we would budget them out and then we wouldn't spend them, and then
Gotcha.
because of the nature of them, they turn into revenue again the next year, even though we
I
still
gotcha,
already
okay.
have it. So that's,
So that has a lot to do with it too.
that has a lot to do
COVID
with it.
funds. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So what's the status of the ELOP funds? Is that sustaining and there's no surprises to that?
I think that's gonna be sustained, well, I think it's gonna go down just a smidge next year. But it's gonna be, it'll support that program.
Perfect. And then special education, I know that we are funded through an allocation with SELPA, but is there there supposedly was supposed to be a little bit of an increase from the federal government, but I don't know what that looks like for us.
I don't know that we've seen that or been able to realize.
Okay.
Not
I mean,
really.
the federal government always talks about an increase, and then
Mhm.
I don't know that it ever actually
Comes to Fort Bragg.
comes in, because then the state gets a cut, and, you know, as it filters down, it gets more diluted. But yes, our contribution for special education students is almost at $5 million from our general fund to support at this
5
point.
million.
And I'm sorry, I was gonna put together what percentage that was of total special ed, but it's I think it's over half,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
well over half, and I think the state average is pushing 60% of contributions to cover the cost.
'Cause I think you had this statistic of how many of our students are special education. Is it 14%?
I think we're 14% right now.
14%, and that's what the programs that require is 5 million for the district.
From
From the
yes,
general
from-
fund.
From our
Yeah,
general
and
fund
then
Plus the other money we
contributions,
get.
plus
and
we
then
get
SELPA.
SELPA money,
Wow. Okay.
and a little bit of federal money, but it's, we're paying for over half of that out of general fund
Total's
contributions.
probably around
What was 8%?
8 million.
Oh, 8 million. Okay.
And we're just under 5 million coming out of general fund too.
Okay. So I guess we'll know, we probably won't know more by next week.
I kind of doubt it. I mean, they're gonna, they have till the end of the month or even longer now to work out the details on it, but like I said, I think it seems like everybody's agreed that they're gonna keep us in pretty good shape for 24, 25. It's just how they categorize it and how they decide to make it
Adjust.
up.
Yeah, to
or
adjust.
not, even internally within the state. So that's where the details will come in. If anything significant comes out of it, then we would have to do a revised budget in July.
That would happen for sure if it was a squirrely decision.
If the state does something squirrely, we have 45 days to revise the budget. So we have to do it all over again.
The public hearing and everything?
No,
Okay.
just
Just
approving the revised budget.
Okay, we've done that before.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, because it makes me super nervous with all these monies running out. We've got the ELOC, we've got the Prop 28,
Mhm.
maybe adjusted a little bit if coming out of not really, from the
That's
A
a
little bit.
weird one because it's based a little bit on your numbers.
Prop
And
98.
it's also built a little bit on what Prop 98 funding is.
that's the
It's a
whole
percentage
issue.
of that, yeah.
So hopefully, we will have to tighten up, and we'll know ahead, and we'll plan ahead, and we'll be transparent about it.
Right.
Yes.
And
we
hopefully-
have a 9% reserve.
And we have a 9% reserve, which is just that holding pattern to say, oh, if we need to, we'll use it that third year out, but we don't really want to use it.
Right.
That's not our,
Right.
That's
know,
not our
we don't-
plan.
it's not our plan to like use it, but
No.
that's just to,
I
so we
am
don't
not
have to
planning
do
on diving into
the
that this
other
morning.
style of budget, but.
Your enrollment projections over the next 3 years are from,
I look at trends over like 5 or 6 years and see where we lose a few, where we gain a few. I check in with the charter school to find out how many 8th graders they have, so I know how many are coming to 9th grade from there. I look at attrition patterns in alt ed and high
Okay.
school and see.
so educated guessing.
Yes,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what more can you do?
yeah, approximately right, completely wrong. Perfectly wrong, approximately right.
And then one last question I have, so retired employees can still, do they receive benefits as an employee, or how does that, do we have that?
There's a limited scope of employees who have to have a certain number of years in the district and have reached a certain age who can participate in the health insurance at the same level as other employees. Right now, I think we only have about 4 people who are doing that.
That's what I was just wondering if that varies and if that
Mhm.
doesn't really affect our budget.
Not
'cause
really
it's
that
so
much.
little.
No, it's
Okay.
really a very small number. And they can also trade sub-days for their portion of it, which kind of gets us some well-qualified subs.
Okay.
And are we still a majority classic or Pepra, or is that shift happening in the district, or?
It is happening. I would say
So it's CalPERS.
new and old
Classic numbers
PERS
before
from before,
2013.
before 2013.
Numbers are up.
Um,
And the cost of the district for Pepper is a lot lower, generally. than a lot
Right,
of
but the
districts.
benefits are lower also.
Right.
I think, I did kind of notice that. It feels like it's shifting. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but it's moving closer to,
I just wonder as people retire, you know,
Mhm.
classified,
right.
I don't know, does STRS have the same, did they do the same similar thing in 2013? No,
2012.
12, yeah, they had a thing too. It wasn't as
drastic.
big a difference, no.
All right, is there any public comment on the budget for next year?
There's no public.
No public comment. Any other questions?
And just as, the same as with the LCAP, this is still in draft form, so if there are comments or things that need to be changed over the next week, we have the time before we consider it for approval next week.
Okay. These documents you prepared both for the LCAP and the budget for parents, is there a plan to send those out? Or have they been sent out, or?
We have posted them. I want to go through one more time and make sure before we send it out, but I'm hoping, yeah, that we can get it sent out.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so then I will close the public hearing at 7:50 PM for the 2024-25 preliminary budget. Move on to item 10.3, Resolution 24-10, adoption of ethnic studies pilot curriculum for grade 10, and I will open that public hearing also at 7:50 PM.
So we haven't gotten very much feedback at all about this being out there, so I would recommend that we continue to move forward and adopt this curriculum, and our staff will work. There's some that want to work over the summer and some that will work into the fall to kind of build out the additional lessons and things, and there'll be more resources that keep coming online to support this as well. Gotten 2 or 3 different opportunities for professional development this summer that we put out to staff to participate in different areas. So one was with University or UC Berkeley, and one was with Cal Poly Humboldt. So
That was my question, is it wasn't on the list of things for the
It
summer, so I
wasn't
didn't
because
know
I didn't
if,
get them confirming whether they were going to participate.
so I was
But we are-
hoping somebody could.
We're tied in with both of those. Like, we've talked with people from both those universities. So even if we don't get to participate, we can still get the materials and have that be a support. So.
Yeah,
I
because
just-
I noticed one of the links didn't work on, so maybe we'll get the link,
Yeah.
access to it as they go.
So my only question is, and I hate to add more work, but you guys have done such a great job summarizing the LCAP and the budget. Is there any way to do a one sheet on, I mean, it's a 700-page curriculum, right? So where do you even start? Like, what do you even look at? What do you look at? Like, what is this? Who's it going to affect? How is it, what's my kid going to learn? So I don't know if they provide some sort of summary you can extract from it, or.
I think honestly, the scope and sequence document that we had attached, that's sort of serving the first 5 pages or so, is probably the best summary
Okay.
out there, because it does give you some access to the different lessons and that sort of thing. I don't know that we could summarize it a lot shorter than that.
Well, yeah, because it seems like there's a lot on there for a
Yeah.
parent to look at, because their
Yeah.
eyes will glaze over.
But certainly that first 5 pages, that's
Yeah.
where we put in the majority of effort and time to make it to bring clarity and show a document that was.
So you guys,
So then maybe some sort of like introductory paragraph before that, like, we're introducing this in the next school year, this is why we're introducing it, this is
Yeah,
the
we could do
law that
something
it's
like that.
supposed to, we have
For
to do
sure.
this or whatever, and
Yeah, we
I
could
just,
do a
when
little
kids start
preface.
going, it's just it's something new, and
Yep.
people, really get ahead of the curve rather than.
so our group, our committee created the first 5 pages. It wasn't populated, or jointly they've adjusted it maybe?
I mean, we adjusted it we used the format. Kelly Smith
Yeah,
helped
gotcha.
in another place, but
Right.
really they took and rearranged everything and put
In
the
a
pieces in.
in an order they
Yeah.
like, okay.
So it was a nice frame for them to start with, so we didn't start with nothing. But
Okay, so it wasn't 100, because I didn't know if it was 100%,
they
Yeah.
went through literally line by line in
Nice.
the committee
Okay.
and made
Perfect.
sure it represented what
yeah.
our core group wanted to have represented there. So
And is there a textbook, is there? no
this is
textbook?
as close to a textbook as exists. So
Okay.
that's the.
So there's nothing that we need, like, when we get a new tech, like, we don't display anything for a certain amount of time?
No, this was it.
or-
We displayed this and
Okay, so that's it,
that's
okay?
it. Yeah.
All right.
So I just, I know we've brought it up before, but I hope as this, because I know it's a pilot and everybody's learning, and I know the county hasn't been very helpful, but I would really like the committee or whoever's gonna be moving this forward to try as much as they can to bring in local,
Pieces.
right, so that the kids our students are learning about our heritage and our community. So anyway, there's my 2 cents.
Yes, and that's the committee will continue to meet into next year as we're implementing, so that we can bring in some of those supports and spend more time thinking about that. We got really entrenched in just trying to get the design. And then
No, and I
support that,
appreciate that,
so.
and I just have heard some bits and pieces of some other communities, and that they're really focusing on the local history, and I hope that we could do that too.
There's a lot of local resources out
Yes.
there, yeah.
I just think it might also, the
Speakers.
kids, or excuse me, the
Relevant.
students will be,
It'd be more relevant
right,
for them.
it's their you know, some of them, it'll be real close to home, and other people, I think, might appreciate that.
Because this really does seem like it's based for college, kids that are in college, to exit college, because they need to know the world of people. But at 10th grade, I appreciate it's not at 9th grade, but for them, it's still, you know, we are isolated, and this would help, this is gonna help isolated kids, but it's a lot. So if they can have some local interest, or be able to have local people coming in to help with that piece.
Some cool field trips.
Yeah, public speakers.
So this is just first semester, 10th grade.
I think
sophomore year.
actually that they were talking about running it second semester, just to give a little more time to sort of
Maturity.
build into it, get some of the intro pieces that are done throughout that first semester, so that they're really setting the stage
Great.
for it to be successful in the
And
second
who's
semester.
teaching it?
With the opening that we currently have, the English department's kind of a little up in the air right now.
Okay.
So we're still working out those details as to who it will be. I know that one of our new folks coming on has a social studies credential as well as is going to teach English, so they're definitely interested in being a part of that.
Great.
So I know Tim and Bruce are working hard to get that sort of solidified as we move into next year.
And what is it replacing? Like, what are the kids not going to take next year because of this?
Nothing. It's as a part of the English class.
Okay.
Because we thought it has so much analysis and reading and writing built into the curriculum, it kind of makes sense there.
Okay. So they have to adjust their whole.
Yes. And they were already doing some elements of this in our English classes, so it just
Okay.
seemed like a logical place for it to be.
Other questions? Is there any public comment? No public comment.
I'm surprised something didn't come through for this one.
Summertime though.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and close, and this will come back next week as well, or what happens from here?
No, this was our second read of this, so this would be
This is it.
if we approve the
Is it down under action?
resolution that was attached.
Is there an action item?
If not, we can bring it back for next week.
Yeah, it was like, I don't think it made it on there.
Yeah, I don't see
Yeah, I don't think
an action
So
item.
we'll put it on for next week.
Okay. So there's still some time.
Yes.
I mean, yes. If anyone has
With
out
all
there,
the viewers.
yes, has any comments?
Well, and I guess when there is a new course, there's usually something curriculum in like the office that a parent could, so there'll be something you'll have
Yeah, so
prepared.
this'll,
Be it, they'll be able
I
to
think we'll probably put a Chromebook, because I don't know that printing out the entire
Right.
700 pages
be
or whatever
prepared,
is.
be prepared for that once
I
this class
honestly
starts.
think they're gonna, it's the first time they're gonna see it is when they're signing this, well, and they
Exactly.
don't, lots of parents don't read those either, but when they're signing syllabuses,
Yeah, well, good.
that's when somebody's gonna
Right,
ask.
well, yeah, just nice to have them get the kinks out before the school class starts, so it doesn't distract the work.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:58 p.m. And that moves us on to item number 11, and I believe this is where I read the oral recommendation, which I have here. So this is an oral recommendation regarding proposed changes to the salary and/or fringe benefits of the superintendent for the school year 24-25. I recommend that the board approve the following: the superintendent's employment contract for the 2024-25 school year through the 26-27 school year, that would be for a period of 3 years, with an annual salary of $181,507 for the 2024-25 school year, and subject to satisfactory evaluations pursuant to the contract, and an annual salary of $185,137 for the 2025-26 school year, and $188,840 for the 2026-27 school year. Health and welfare benefits at a total cost of $12,906, which is the 2024-24 cap applicable to full-time certificated employees, and reflects the same terms and conditions such benefits are provided to other full-time certificated employees and may change during the course of the contract to maintain those terms over the course of the contract. And with that, we will move to item 12.1, which is the superintendent 2024-25 salary and/or fringe benefits. So, I guess any discussion, any questions?
So I guess we could just move for this 1 year, because we're looking at it that way.
Mhm.
But you've laid it all out to see what it would look like if each year was a satisfactory evaluation.
Yes. So okay.
Yeah.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because
Because
it's
you would have to
included in the
approve it
contract,
from the
which is two.
evaluation each year anyway.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yep.
So that's
It's
just
just extra
based
information.
on the contract. yeah.
Okay.
But we could say, I could say, I so move. With your information that you provided for the 24-25 year, contracted year,
Okay. Is there
2% increase.
a second?
I'll second.
And before I call for a vote, is there any public comment?
There is no
Okay. So then, roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12.2 is the employment contract for the period commencing July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2027 for the superintendent. I present the draft to the board for discussion and any questions, if there are any.
So the contract itself had the right dates, right? It was just the
Yes,
first.
just
Okay.
the title,
So we don't
yeah.
have to change anything in the motion.
I think there was one change to the contract in the requirement for a medical exam. We were going to put annually
Correct.
in there.
Yes,
So
thank
that's
you.
Paragraph 38, I believe,
Yes.
on page 5 and bottom of
Page 6,
page 6.
38, yeah.
So we'll make that one change. Okay, is there any public comment on the contract?
No.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board? Comments? Discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the employment contract for the period commencing July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025.
27.
27, sorry. I just said that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and Trustee Paoli.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12.3, public disclosure of collective bargaining and other agreements and ratification of actions needed to fund.
So this is a required packet that is prepared whenever there's a negotiated settlement. And in this case, it was all of our bargaining units and unrepresented groups. The numbers are already reflected in the budget, so the multi-year you see there is the same as the one that's in the draft budget. And shows that we can, in fact, afford to do this, which is the goal of this particular document.
And this action essentially, we're approving all changes.
Yes,
That were-
yeah,
okay.
not just the salary
Financial,
schedules, but
right.
also any of the other parts of the tentative agreements, ratifying the agreement.
The agreements have been ratified by the
Yes.
collective bargaining groups already, great.
And the TAs are included in this packet for you.
Okay. Tentative agreements.
Are there any further questions? Comments? Is there any public comment on this one?
There is no public comment.
Wow, okay. And I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the collective bargaining and other agreements as presented.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12. Is everyone okay to keep going? I know it's 8 o'clock. Everyone okay? Yeah? Okay. Item 12.4, Resolution 24-07, budget transfers.
This one and the next two are annual resolutions that you make that basically permit the business office to make the necessary movements of budget and funds. I do not, this is budget transfers, yes, so those are
Non-controversial.
non-controversial, yes.
So I move to approve Resolution 2407, budget transfers.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, and before roll call, is there any public comment?
No, there is no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right, item 12.5, Resolution 24-08, interfund transfers.
This is another one of those that gives business office permission to move funds between funds if necessary. There is one this year. It is to move money from the general fund into the transportation fund to cover the district's share of the electric buses.
And was that the money that was being refunded through a grant, or this is separate?
Most of it was paid for by the grant. This
Okay.
is, the district
This
had
is the
a portion of
small
it that they were supposed to pay too, which was actually less than the cost of one of the buses.
Okay.
So we did good on that one.
Good deal.
Yeah, great deal.
So I move to approve the interfund transfer resolution 2408.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, and any public comment?
No, there's no public.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
That's me. Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right, item 12.6, Resolution 24-09, interfund temporary cash transfers.
So this gives the business office permission, should one of our funds be short on cash, to temporarily allow one fund to borrow money from another fund to be repaid once the other one is solvent. Because sometimes the fund doesn't get the money from the state or something, and so they might be. We are not in that situation. I do not anticipate needing any of these, but it gives us permission should we need it.
And I just, since nobody's making any comments, I'm gonna go ahead and make one. That, I just want the public to know, since they're gonna go back and watch this, I'm sure, that we have such a wonderful business office, and Wendy has established herself that we don't really, because these are non-controversial and annual, and, I mean, I imagine in some districts that they don't like to just approve things and not
Feel
really
worried
have
about
some,
it.
right,
Yeah.
not have somebody. So I just wanna thank our employees that we can just approve these and not worry that they're gonna do something shady.
Yes.
Because our
We have a
auditor
good
always,
team.
yeah, our auditor always says that it's right, and, you know.
I know,
Yeah.
when I first was a board member and seeing these without any information attached, we're approving transfers that haven't even happened yet. For me, it was uncomfortable.
Right.
But it's a process, coming from the city, this would
Right.
never, because that's not
Technically,
how
I
it
have to have
works.
permission to do it.
Right, so,
Right.
I'm sure if anyone ever wanted to see what transfers were actually made as a result of the resolution, they could find that
I
out.
would be more than happy
Yes.
to share that.
So thank you for that, Kathy. Okay, is there any public comment?
There is no public.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2409, interfund temporary cash transfers.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right, item 12.7, job description for community schools coordinator.
Okay, so as we discussed earlier, we have a job description for the position of a community schools coordinator. So we do have within the job description that it is a grant-funded position and it's contingent on continued funding. So we want everyone who, when we have this advertised, to know. However, that funding right now is for 5 years, so it's a significant amount of time. It's not going to go away after just 1 year. This was pulled from about 4 or 5 different community schools coordinator positions around the state, so we kind of brought in things that's reflected where we were going with the program, and we're able to kind of keep that in line with that. And the pay range was not included on the copy that got uploaded, but it is the next item, once it's approved, that we would place it on the classified management salary schedule at the range 6. So that would start at $86,000 and run to $114,000. Though I don't know that anybody would have 15 years of experience in this because the program hasn't been around that long. So.
Do you mind just taking a moment and talking about what would transform a school into a first full-service community school? Like, what is...
So the really nice part is we have so many elements of it already. So the idea behind the community schools funding is to take our schools and make sure that students have the mental health that they need, the after-school care, and access to parent supports that are out there. Some of the elements that we're looking at with this particular funding is to add in some additional supports for mental health services that are more intense, so looking at some psychiatric supports, that kind of thing. The mindfulness through martial arts that we heard earlier about, continuing that. Also our really successful program that we've had with our bilingual family liaisons, making sure that each site has a family liaison. We're still working out the details of what that job description would look like, if it's going to be exactly the same or if we need to modify it some, because it'll be site specific work. So kind of working through some of that with the union as well. The reality is it makes the school a community hub that provides for the whole child as opposed to just the academic needs. Again, I think that we were already kind of leaps and bounds ahead of some other districts in that work. I think that's probably why we've been funded for this work, is to continue to build that out. We'd also be looking at building a community center of some sort, or not building, but taking the JD Center and refurbishing it, if that's cost effective. Within the grant, we built in about $800,000 to do that. I don't know if we can achieve that to get it up to speed where students could be in that space. If not, we'll kind of go back and reassess and see what we would need to do to maybe, once we get Alt-Ed built, if we could look at the old Alt-Ed buildings are approved to have students in them and see what we could do there. So we have some options, but ideally we would have a place that our families could come and know that that's sort of the landing spot where they could get family resources, and if we needed washers and dryers in there so that they could do laundry, those sort of things, that there would be an opportunity to support families in need that way.
So do the family liaisons report to this person?
Yes, so that's the supervisory structure will be this. That's why this goes in the management.
Because I've noticed this position reports directly to you.
Yes.
Okay.
But this position will supervise the family liaisons, provide training for them, also be our representative who's going out to the different community schools meetings that are around the state. So.
And is there like and you maybe had to do this for the grant, is there like a work plan, like year one, because this is all brand new, right? So is there like a work plan that they're going to follow, or how?
Really, it's outlined in the grant as really just trying to establish everything that we're talking about. So the most immediate concern would be to get the family liaisons, as I see that having the biggest impact on all sites and students. And then moving from there, trying to get the psychiatric services in place, trying to get and then I'll be working more on the facility stuff, just because I think that's a little beyond the scope of kind of this role or whatnot. But also reaching out and building some of those community connections and seeing if there are other opportunities where we can sort of braid funding that is available in the community to support our students as well.
And will this person be a part of the ADCO team?
They would, yes.
Great.
As a part of classified management, they would.
Great.
They'd be sitting at that table, so it'd be really powerful.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I know they're behind, but all the equity training they've been doing, they'll kind of just jump in and do what they can.
And the nice part with the community engagement initiative, which is sort of a sidebar to this, they provide a lot of that training as well. And so they would be responsible for that pot of money for one more year. There's so much money that was in this sphere that we really have some opportunities. So that's another $70,000 that we'll have to support the training with that team, but this year we didn't use nearly that amount because the statewide grant pays for the hotel, the airfare. Really, we're paying for food and travel, like the physical, like getting to the airport or whatnot. So it's a pretty good deal for the level of professional development that we're getting for not just our staff, but we also have parents, students, and community partners who come to that with us as well. So
Good. And just one more comment, I guess, from me, and then we'll just stop. But I think this is really exciting, and I'm really excited not only about the family liaison thing, but about the community engagement.
yes.
And I think as board members, we're elected by the community, we represent the community, and so it would be nice to not obviously be involved on a regular basis with what this position's doing, but to have maybe regular check-ins
Absolutely.
and just, like how can we work together? How can we help support them with the goals that you guys come up with, and kind of vice versa. So
Absolutely.
it's a really exciting position.
Yeah, and I think once we have the position hired, I'd like for them to come to a workshop where we're kind of working on those types of goals, just to have straightforward conversation and hear from you as the board as to kind of what you see in the community as our community leaders that way.
That's great. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Sorry, I've been asking a lot. But anything else?
Are you leaving us, Scott, to go to the community school?
No. Is there any public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
All right. So we are approving the job description. So I will entertain a motion to approve the job description.
So I move to approve the community schools coordinator job description.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12.8, position placement on classified management salary schedule.
So just as we discussed, it's just the salary schedule updated with that position added on as well.
All right, any questions? Is there
And
any
I know the one we, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The one we approved, the CBO position, did this one, I know it's new too, but did we do something to look around to see if it was in line with?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty well in line. I mean, we can't pay what like San Bernardino was, which was way above. It was a full administrative position, but there's also a lot more involved in that. So this is in line with what other districts, I won't say regionally, because I don't know, there's only maybe 2 other districts regionally that have it, but throughout the state, just kind of looking at the average compared to their schedules, this was about where it was placed. So.
And
Thank you.
Where are they on this?
What's that?
So
They would be 6, so all the way to the right in the attachment there.
under food service director.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions? Any public comment on this? Thank you. Yeah, you knew what I was going to ask. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the classified management salary position placement on the schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
The motion carries.
No, I'm sorry, I've been a little distracted lately, but didn't we drop the first column on this thing? Okay, I was just
We'll
making sure.
revise it.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute, I thought that's what we did last meeting.
Oh, you did it in May?
We just haven't carried all the way through the financial system yet, so it has to be called the same thing or we'll all get lost.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mm.
Just making sure
So we weren't
I'm
sure
totally
whether it
not
made more
off
sense
them.
to call it 6, but only have 3 columns on it.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
It's like
So-
2,
Right.
4, and 6.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I hear you.
So,
All right, item 12.9, intern, pre-interns, and permits and waivers.
so we had attached the different waivers and interns that we have for the coming year. some of these may actually resolve themselves this summer. We just want them listed and have it approved in case for some reason they need a little bit more time until the fall, because some of this is contingent on universities actually sending transcripts and awarding degrees. And so that takes a little time sometimes. But I'm happy to say that we have, this list is a little shorter. And and these names are familiar. Some of these are in their second year and will receive their full teaching credentials hopefully at the end of the coming year.
So all of them are within the time frame required by?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Any questions, further questions? Is there any public comment?
No.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the intern, pre-interns permit waivers.
And second.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And Trustee Paley?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12.10, reduced workload program agreement.
So the board has already approved having a reduced workload for our employee Daniel Araguen for the coming school year. This is just the agreement that needs the board approval before I send it to him. Some of the highlights of this are that he will continue, as with our past practice, to receive his full-time equivalent of benefits, but he'll only receive the pay for the .6 assignment. And that is in line with how we've did some research to try to find out how that's been, because it's been a little while since we've done this. This is also sometimes referred to as the Willie Brown workload reduction. So if you've heard of that in the past, this is the same thing.
It's the formal
Yes,
agreement.
The formal agreement as was drafted by our attorney.
So is that, it also gives them the ability to maximize, well, for the, is it with the PERS and STIRS? Like,
STIRS.
yeah, the
Yeah, for
STIRS.
STIRS. Yeah, we have to have an agreement in place that
Exactly,
outlines-
for them to to allow it or grant it, or,
Yeah.
okay.
And we
'Cause
made that
it's-
application with them as well. So I think this is the last piece that we needed in place.
Okay.
To
I guess it's a positive thing. It just seems weird to have an employee's name, like, disclosed.
It is.
Not
It's
a negative
it's a
thing.
weird,
Yeah,
a weird
just
thing that we
formality.
have, but it
Yeah.
is a, yeah.
Okay.
And everything's worked out with the schedule, with him being reduced and the other Spanish teacher. Okay.
And this is permanent reduction?
Can't
So
go back.
I believe it outlines in that it can be no more than 5 years, but I think that's not the intent, that he'll be done sooner than that. So.
But he still can't go back to full-time.
Exactly, I
So
think that's
once
what
you
I
go- okay,
read.
that was
But he
more-
could hang out in this .6 4 or 5
5
years, is what you're saying, but he
Yes.
can't say, oh, next year I went full-time.
Right.
No. So once you cross that line.
Yeah, once the agreement is signed, then that is it.
Okay, is there any other questions or any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the reduced workload program agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 12.11, the Fort Bragg Unified School District Workplace Violence Prevention Program.
So, the state has mandated that all employers have a workplace violence prevention program in place. So we have our plan, and we will also have training for our employees as a part of their Keenans. So a little preview for you, because I know you also have to do Keenans. It's about I think maybe 15 to 20 minute training, so it's adding to the burden a little bit, but it's not cumbersome too much. Basically just outlining that if there's workplace violence, the different types, and that they should report it to their direct administrators and make sure that, or managers, and make sure that we follow our plan to report. The plan also has some templates for folks to report if they want to, and also for our managers to take that information and document that it was reported, the type of violence that was reported, and that kind of thing. So.
So good timing, because our policies show that you have to do this by July 1.
Yes.
So
Yes,
how
so
long
this-
how much notice do they give you? I mean, did you know about this in January?
I think that's, yeah, they
About-
let us know sometime late last year, but I was waiting for templates to come out.
Right,
And so that's
exactly.
what took a little while. So
Yeah.
this one, actually, MCOE shared several different templates, and this one
Mhm.
came from LA County Office of Education. So
Nice.
it had to remove some references to
Right.
other things, but
But that's smart. Why, yeah, why do it from scratch? Exactly. Perfect.
so.
Does this integrate at all with our safety plans or safety work we're doing? Not really.
Yes and no. It's sort of an
Mhm.
ancillary, kind of off
Mhm.
to one side. It had to have the specific language in it to meet the legislation.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I'm working on mine right now, so.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, me too.
As employers, I'm sure that's
Yes.
Thank you, because I didn't even know about it until I came to the safety meeting, so. It's amazing the things you learn in the different aspects of your life.
Yeah. Are any other questions, or is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the Fort Bragg Unified School District Workplace Violence Prevention Program.
Second?
And I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, item 12.12, contract for professional development services for Kelly Smith.
Okay, so I hope that you all had an opportunity to peruse the proposal that Kelly worked on. The slides that are there really kind of outlines where we've been and what her proposal is. She and I worked to kind of develop this together in late May. It feels like it was really a long time ago. It was probably only about 3 weeks ago that we sat down, but her focus with our elementary coaching support, really focusing in on building capacity with our TOSAs, and looking at different things that they can do to really improve student talk and group work, and as well as writing and math support. So there's a lot going on. The other change that she has with our new teacher training is to, we have in the past done this before school, but with our new teachers, it seems like that's really a lot of information kind of before school starts. So we're really trying to build it in so that we can actually have them do this a little bit later. So doing a couple of days throughout the year, kind of after they get their feet under them, and it's not all just new information coming at you 100. So that they can have an opportunity to build a relationship with some of the TOSAs who will help support them through this, some of the coaches and whatnot as well. At the secondary level, she's going to really focus in on the coaching support. So looking at supporting our middle school and high school coaches. The program has been really very successful, lots of great reports back. A lot of the teachers are asking for the coaches to come in and provide feedback because it's not evaluatory. It's it just provides another set of eyes, and they have done Kelly's done a really great job of building that trust and support in working with the coaches this year. So I'm excited to see that continue into next year and really continue to build the capacity of our employees to carry that work forward, because Kelly has shared at some point she would like to retire. So that is part of this contract, is that she's reducing the number of days. This year we had contracted with her for 60 days, and I think that she worked with us maybe 56 of those days, and next year she's contracting for 50 days and may work a little less than that. So.
And she'll also streamline the data that's coming to us, like
Yes.
everyone's giving the same type of
Yes, so we
student
worked
target groups or whatever it is, attendance,
We
wrapped
worked on a
around.
little better report for that, so that it's not
Perfect.
quite so busy, so that whenever you see, you can go, oh, okay, I know what
The
they're
summary.
working on, and I know as a school kind of what the overarching goals are at each site.
Right, yeah, because it is a lot to, you start getting on a tangent when you're reviewing all of it.
Yes.
You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
so this should distill it a little bit more for
Streamline
you
it.
and for the public to be able to see that. And also emphasize that we'd like to see results over time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at formats to be able to show that in a way that is meaningful. So.
Mm-hmm. And so is her daily rate the same? I didn't see a cost on this. Is it all the same?
Yes, it's roughly
Still.
the same daily rate.
So we maxed out on the contract last year almost? You said 58 out of 60, so that was the
Oh, no,
whole-
that's just, we actually had
well,
more
not
days.
maxed out, but the contract terms, last time around, it was like a cap of 135,000, I think.
I don't think we met that number.
Okay,
I think
gotcha.
that was just for up to the
Yes,
number of
exactly.
days
So
that
I was
she
just wondering
coming.
what it really
It
cost.
just worked out that she didn't, we just didn't find the need to schedule her in for some of those
Right.
days. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just would like to ask that when those instructional rounds or anything that we might be able to go, if those dates could get pushed out
Sure.
sooner.
Once
rather
we've
than later.
solidified the calendar, we'll share the whole calendar with you, and then I'll get Renee to also put that in
Yeah.
on the board calendar so you can see when those dates are happening at the sites.
Great.
So.
Cause I forget to ask after we get going in
Yeah.
the school year.
And I
For sure.
just by luck got into
Mhm.
an hour or two of them doing their roundtable of getting I think it was they're getting their rubric for a paper. And it was kind of, it would be interesting to be able to watch.
I really enjoyed when, I don't think Kelly was there, but Laura took us around
Yeah,
and we did
in
the,
like 2019 or something.
thank you.
So,
Okay, is there any public comment?
There is no public
All
comment.
right, thank you, Renee. So I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the professional development services for Kelly Smith.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And roll call?
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
So clarifying question, is there an actual contract for next year?
She has not actually sent me a contract yet, so.
Okay.
Because last year she had one, like.
Because I understand we're really approving a plan, not the actual contract,
Mhm.
so,
We'll bring that back on contracts.
okay.
Yeah,
And maybe
just
under
when-
consent?
When
yeah.
we receive it, yeah.
Okay.
So.
That'd be
because
great.
it definitely was written out as a contract.
Yeah,
That's where I
that's
got
what I remember too.
the
but, yeah,
numbers.
Okay.
last year.
Okay, item 12.13, Fort Bragg High School Stadium Lights Plan.
All right, so we have been working with the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation. I always want to call them the Stadium Foundation. It's, they do have an official name. They have secured this quote for replacing our stadium lights. So basically, they'll take off the entire crow's nest and all of the lights that are there. Take that away. They'll kind of put on a new crown that's made out of aluminum, so that it should be durable and stay. There'll be about half the number of lights, but because they're LEDs, they'll be much brighter, at least on the field. Our neighbors will be really happy that they don't really have a broader, so it's not going to light up the entire neighborhood. It's just going to kind of keep the light concentrated in on our fields there. The Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation has about $150,000 in their coffers to support this, and we will pick up the remainder of that. And to give you an idea, we were looking at this last year. It was about the total proposed cost just for the lights that we were looking at to replace, not with no installation. So this is including the installation, all of that sort of thing. So we were pretty impressed at the price, because when we were looking last year, it would have been in the $400,000 range, which we all said that's kind of out of everybody's ability to pay. So.
And there's even some warranties as well.
Now the cover says that there's no sales or use tax, but then isn't the sales tax on the second
it is,
page?
yeah.
Okay,
Was
so
it
the
included?
$12,000 is there, almost $13,000, right?
It looks like it's included in the
Yeah.
236.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
it may be included in the 236.
I just checked
yeah.
and went back and,
Okay, sorry
right?
about that.
I was just clarifying that.
I wanted to go the other way and make sure that if it were going to be more, that we knew that. So I'm sorry I missed that line item. So,
Well, I'm
It's-
sure
it's
there's,
faded
of course,
out,
something
so-
else
yeah.
will
Um,
come up.
And the polls, they say that they assume that they're in good order. Do we know that? Like, we're not gonna get
Yes,
into
the
some,
polls are in.
they're fine, they're not
They're in
gonna,
good order. The folks that, with the Sports Foundation have been up and down those quite a few times over the
Okay.
years. And they're like, it's really the crow's nests at the top that were the biggest areas of concern. The polls themselves are
okay.
really
So there,
solid,
there should be no unexpected cost,
shouldn't be.
once they start.
Nope.
And when would this be?
So with this approval, they can, sometime this summer, they'll get them done. It takes them, they said, about 2 weeks to finish, I think.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's not gonna take them very long at all once they start.
What about light bulbs?
The LEDs last for a long time.
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
they say.
So, and we have the warranties on for 10 years.
So for 10 years they'll
I
replace?
believe so, because I believe the
Okay.
LEDs are meant to last longer than that.
Yeah,
And they're the,
but I'm sure they're not cheap.
no,
If one,
I'm sure they're not.
something happens to one or one goes out.
But this group was recommended from the CIF,
Hmm.
you know, specifically for this, so
Great.
we were pretty impressed.
And where is the money coming from? The 80-some thousand we have, or 80?
That is coming from
I
our,
would think routine restricted would cover that.
because it's considered maintenance, so we're pulling out a routine restricted maintenance.
Okay.
So,
And I was just gonna look at the date. Okay, this is the 22nd, we have 45 days, so we're good.
They're
It's
fine.
not gonna be an increase.
No, there's,
Okay.
they were, the company, the Sports Foundation has already sent some of this into them for some engineering and some other costs, so it's secured at that price.
Wendy, you don't have any budget concerns?
Well, it's a safety, it sounds like a safety issue too. It's not like it's
Right.
fluff.
Yeah.
Well, and then
Worried they're
my
gonna fall off.
understanding is we would have to go to Saturday games, which would mess up, I mean, not that that's the only reason to make a decision, but, then it would move high school to Saturday, and then I don't know what would happen to Cubs, either
Yeah.
Sundays or, I don't even know
Mm.
how.
It would create a really,
Yeah,
'Cause
our,
we're like-
because our
Community
school would
issue,
be the only
community.
We can't
Saturday.
use, we can't use them anymore, or why are we?
My understanding is that they're about to fall off.
they're at a point where it's almost a safety issue, but
Okay.
Safety issue.
we're worried in a stiff wind that one of those crow's nests.
So are people gonna be upset that we're spending money on lights and not the track?
Safety issue.
Yeah,
Okay,
Of course, I mean,
I'm
of
sure
course.
somebody
and
will.
this is not
Yeah.
the level of funding that could even begin to touch the track, and that's
Yeah.
where the Sports Foundation, kind of where they were with things, as they said, we really aren't going to get to that point without some
Mm.
significant.
Because they considered doing the track?
They thought
Yeah.
about saving up money to be able
Yeah.
to do that,
it's like
but,
4 million or something?
yeah, it's about $4 to $6 million, depending on whether we're talking track and field or just the track
Wow.
Oh my God.
around it, so.
4 million.
Okay. All right, so, any other questions?
And I imagine the number of kids between soccer,
Cheer, football.
right, cheer, football, and Cubs, that's a lot of
Community.
kids
A
that
lot
this
of kids in the-
80,000 or whatever.
Maybe
Brandon
another
just did the math.
Color run. It's,
Okay, is there any public comment?
No, there's no
Thank
public
you.
comment.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the stadium lights plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz. Yes. And the motion carries.
All right, item 12.14, 2024-25 school calendar correction.
So we just had a correction. It really didn't affect any of the instructional days. It was just some of the winter break days needed to be updated on the format that we have. And Renee has.
I have print copies, and actually, there's one additional change.
Okay.
I couldn't find it.
It's been,
I have to.
just throw those away and use one of the.
More colors.
You'll have to make an additional change to this one. Lundy and Jamie have been very busily texting me during this meeting to ask that we take off January 8.
Take off.
All of their efforts to create 39 ER days, they came up with 40.
So which one are we getting rid of?
So we are eliminating January 8
As a minimum day?
as a minimum day, not as a school day.
Right.
By removing that as not
whole day just in January out of the blue.
Okay.
Did we do that before, like mid-year?
We
Yeah.
haven't necessarily, but I think the concern was if we stacked them all at the beginning of the year, that then it would be September 18th before our leaders could meet with their staff at the beginning of the year. So I think they would rather have that
Earlier?
happen a little bit earlier so that they, and the staff were asking for that as well.
Yeah.
That was the intent. So with that change, this is the now proposed two-hour day schedule.
And we can send this out to everybody once it's
Correct.
like a link on Parent Square or something,
Yes.
because people
And then-
love calendars.
Right, right, they won't need to plan their lives. And then the colors will be reflected somewhere, a key. I don't know what red
Oh, right, 'cause we have orange
There
and
is a
green.
key for this, but it doesn't,
fit.
to print this for the board, it wasn't,
Okay.
it would have created a second page.
Oh, gotcha.
I apologize for that. It's very minimal, start, finish.
Yeah. For the green.
Yeah,
First
PB
day.
day.
So blue is big.
Blue are breaks, black is actual holidays.
Okay. And so what's different about the December break? 'Cause I didn't see.
I think it's just highlighting the particular holidays.
Yes.
Okay,
Highlighting the holidays and the general format of the original academic calendar was very unpopular.
this one? Yeah, 'cause this was gonna stick. That was gonna be the one. Yeah, I figured it was gonna go into this. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, so any other further questions or any public comment?
There's no public comment.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion with the change of removing January 8th as a minimum day for Redwood and Dana Gray.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, 13.1, recommendation for adoption of instructional materials, sciences, grade K through 2.
So after much discussion and many iterations, 3 different pilots that they have done, our K2 has recommended the McGraw-Hill Inspire Science as to move forward for adoption. So this is on information and discussion now. The materials will be on display at the district office for the required 30 days plus. So when our board retreat is in July, so it'll be the only action item that we would add on there, but it's just so that we can get the materials ordered for the start of the school year. And you also see the rubrics and things attached that our employees were able to do. They worked, like I say, this, as you know, it's been about 1.5 years of pilots to get here. I finally had to sit down and, well, that's more of the 3-5, but I did sit down and have to have a conversation that there's no system out there right now that's going to be perfect and address every single thing. So we have to find the thing that we can integrate and use effectively to support our students. And so these are the recommendations that our teachers came back with.
And so when you say pilot, they used portions of it throughout last year? I mean,
Yes,
So
so
they were-
for the pilots, they usually send us 2 to 3 units
Okay.
for each thing. Some of them send us the entire textbook, but at least
Yeah.
2 to 3 units. And they tried teaching, at least 2 units out of each
okay,
one, just to kind of get a feel for what the supports were, including they had access to the online supports that they were available. Any of the hands-on materials got sent and that sort of thing. So, so it was pretty comprehensive. And I think that they just, with the McGraw-Hill, they found at Redwood that sort of supported the structures and systems that they had in place there a little more effectively. And then we'll talk a little bit about 3-5 in just a moment.
So is it just one teacher that does that, or
No, it
is
was
there
a,
multiple?
I believe at Redwood, there were 5
Okay.
teachers?
There were 2 at each grade level, plus
Oh,
a third for kindergarten.
Okay.
Somehow they ended up with 3 pilot teachers.
So,
Yeah, that's great.
So then they filled this out as a group, but yet one teacher put their name on it?
They have, they're currently looking for the remainder of their forms.
They filed it away.
Yeah,
yes.
there seems to be a little confusion.
What's the problem with
but
doing this
they-
over a year and a half?
They did sit down individually and then compare notes as a group to discuss the rate, what kind of rating they gave each one. There's a lot of discussion that went on.
Well, I'm happy that they had it for that long, because that would be more meaningful than just to not pilot it.
Yes.
Well, I just worry a little bit that, because there wasn't anything that was great, that but I mean, we have to do something, but I just feel like we're kind of settling with, I don't know, that's
Best
my
of the
only
worst.
concern, but,
Well, and I'll say.
and I don't know how, does it say somewhere the total?
Yep, oh yes, it does.
Sorry, I was more interested in the staff stuff,
236.
what they said.
Yeah, because we have to do more clicking.
Where's the,
It's on
Oh,
the
it's on-
right side. Or no, sorry, wait a minute. I might be on, sorry, I'm on the wrong thing.
must be in the budget somewhere. Because I don't think it's on any of these.
Maybe it's not.
Oh, are you looking for a quote?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't think we have one yet.
Oh, gosh.
So
We'll
we can bring that
reach out
back.
and get that.
Yeah, we can bring
This
that
is
back.
Before they're
information.
approved.
Yeah.
I mean, do we
Um, we have to have
we
these.
have to have one?
To have this.
Okay.
And I,
We've
I
been
really
kicking the
think
can
I
down
have
the
a
road.
sticky note. I have something I want to, is to look at our board policy about curriculum, because when we met with Kelly Smith and she talked about having in-house curriculum, I just think this would have been a great time to, we've got some really amazing science teachers in the middle school and high school, and I just
How
think.
do you balance that? Because I remember when I came, right before I came on the board, there was internal curriculum, but it wasn't, it didn't feel like it was okay. So how do you?
That wasn't internal, well, I was thinking
Yeah.
of curriculum for the whole, not one teacher taught their
Oh,
own
gotcha.
thing.
So
but
that has to be a
right, that
unit.
it was
That's
a-
what was wrong with it. Is that
Yes, it was people were
in-
teaching their own. what
unilaterally
they were.
deciding,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
But I know since since the science standards came out, I don't know how many years ago that was, quite a while, that I knew there was nothing coming. But anyway, that's just something that I think I would like to
Mhm.
look at our policy and go back and look at these rubrics, because I feel like sometimes they're just highlight, like, they didn't even fill out the bottom where actually is the stuff I want to hear about. Like, I don't care if it's a 4, like, what does it mean
Yeah.
to you?
Right.
So anyway, upcoming attractions, that's gonna be my pet, whatever
Well,
project
and then
next
I
year, is
just
to follow up about.
I'll forward you a CSBA. They have the whole.
Yes,
how-
I saw that.
So did you get it?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I haven't
I've
spent time
listened
with
to
it
a
yet.
little bit of it, but about curriculum and how you look at it, the standards, and
Oh,
what you're
great, yeah.
how,
Mhm.
from a board's
Yeah.
lens,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
local priorities, and how do you involve the
They
community.
should include that in the MIG.
In the what?
In the MIG.
Mm.
I don't remember them talking about that at all.
There's so many things, I mean,
I
the
know.
MIG could be,
I know,
2
but
years
this is,
long,
curriculum's really important.
But I will say for the FOSS and Discovery, that there were groups at both Dana Gray and Redwood who were looking at those systems.
Mm.
And nobody was super impressed, but they did meet together to talk across K-5 about that.
Oh, great.
And come to some discussion around it, and that's when they, this year, tried doing the separate pilots with things that seemed to appeal more to where they were. I think really the appeal of the McGraw-Hill was that it really helps integrate more with the reading instruction, and that they could use them as some of those replacement during reading instruction. You can pull out a science lesson, and it's already formatted in a way that's familiar to the students for reading instruction and that sort of thing.
And it aligns with benchmark.
Yes.
And my comment is moving forward about curriculum is I want to make sure that the evaluation pieces to see how it's working, how kids are taken to it, if they're learning, are coherent with what we're trying to do district-wide.
Yes. And I would say with the McGraw-Hill, it's gonna be more traditional, assessment pieces that are involved with it. Looking at the Carolina Biological, which is the recommendation for 3 through 5. I think we might have some good picture moments out of these because they send a lot of the, materials for the students to manipulate and things. And they're actual kits that kind of get shuttled back and forth. So they send it to the teacher, and then the teacher sends it back, and then they get another kit and that kind of thing, and kind of cycles through. So it's a unique approach, and the teachers, when I sat down with them and had a conversation, the concerns that they had were fairly minor in comparison to other things, and that they were like, the hands-on is really great. They were worried about some of the maybe not differentiating quite enough, but then as we got into the conversation, the teachers were like, oh, here's that section on the online. So I think with more training, they would have been able to see those pieces that existed. So really the major reservations they had, as we talked, they were able to kind of sort through them, and it was the most positive response that I saw to any of them out of all the ones that we tried. So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so this will be displayed at the district office?
At the district office, and they're also displayed in the back here.
And they're here as
feel like
well.
perusing
For
on
all
your
of
way
you, we'll be here for another little bit. If anyone wants to run down to room 306, come on by. Okay, moving on, 13.2, recommendation for adoption of instructional materials, sciences grades 3 through 5, which we've talked about.
I was gonna say, we sort of discussed as a part of that, so.
Okay,
Unless there are any other questions.
anything further on this? Okay. 13.3, board policy administrative regulation updates from CSBA.
So nothing like hitting us with a lot of updates for the July 1st stuff. As you saw, there were a lot that focused in on either getting rid of COVID-19 stuff out of things, or our updates to our safety planning and those pieces. I'm sorry, I did read through these this weekend, and
Most of them really are just law changes. There's
Yeah,
not
that's
really
right.
much. But the only one, I don't know if you want to go in any particular order, but I did tag one about workplace readiness week that we will provide, which is required by the district, for students at the high school. So I didn't know if the career day fulfills that. It's under ceremonies and observation.
yes, I believe that it does.
But is it every year? Because isn't the career fair every other?
During the week that
Or
includes.
is that gonna go back to being every year?
It says and it's required, like, it includes April 28th during the week. So that's the only one I was thinking, how are we gonna do that?
I'm sorry, what number was that?
6115.
Page 13 of the summary.
Okay. Thank you. Just need to refresh my memory here.
Providing students with specific information on their rights as workers. And for students in grades 11 and 12, for the observance yeah.
I think when they say observe, it just means that we, like in our bulletins and things
Yeah.
like that we bring
Mhm.
some awareness around, that we make sure that in those classes that we talk about, that there are workers' rights, that it's a part of that.
He's part of the
It'll be part of our
Yes.
ethnic studies as well.
11th and 12th graders, though.
It's
So that-
certainly,
Yeah.
so we'll certainly bring that forward to remind folks that that's now, because this is a new law. That brings this about. My assumption is usually when they have these new laws, we actually get some pretty good campaigns from the state. In the fall, they'll really start to probably roll this out, because it's not until,
Incorporate it.
so that we can have it in place. I'm thinking a similar kind of thing is with our the students learning about voting and democracy and all that
The
kind of
government.
has to
Mhm.
happen. There's a specific week where we have to actually roll it out in September every year, and
Okay.
that sort of thing that's in the law. So they're pretty good about providing those materials because it's such a universal thing within the
So
state.
you'll have plenty of notice
Um,
to incorporate that.
Yes.
Any other policies you wanted to discuss at the moment? So I guess a question for the board is, do we want to bring these back next week, in July, or in the fall? What's your preference? If anyone has any.
Yeah, I mean, next week is fine, because a lot of
Yeah.
it was just
Okay.
mandatory, it wasn't really.
So we don't get a lot of wiggle room. in those
Mm-mm.
things.
Okay, I just, I don't want to put too much on it. Oops, I don't want to put,
Do we, I know we've talked about this a lot, about the deal with the, saying when, well, I guess it is vague now, about the meeting, which meetings, one regular meeting each month. I guess it is vague, because it used to say Thursday, right? It didn't say on the oh, it still does, yeah, on
Yeah.
the second Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't it most times, I mean, more times than not, it's not on the second Thursday because of the breaks and stuff?
No, I think
Or is it now falling on, I thought we were running into where it really wasn't.
there were probably
Put on
four
a
throughout the
Thursday.
year.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should.
Take out the second.
or we could add or third.
Just
On
take out the
a, on
second.
a Thursday?
Yeah.
On a consistent Thursday. I don't know.
The best
I was just
Thursday.
thinking if nobody seems to care that it's not exactly
gonna say, I
right,
think-
but.
I mean, there were still a majority of the time we're meeting on the second Thursday, when you look through the calendar,
Mm.
but we have October, April,
Yeah.
and June, where
Second,
sometimes it's.
second, third Thursday?
Yeah.
Slash third?
As
So,
it
yeah,
reads
we'll
right
have
now,
our-
it just says unless otherwise posted,
October,
Unless otherwise scheduled.
unless otherwise
Yeah.
scheduled.
That covers
October
it.
and April looks like our breaks this next year.
Yeah, that usually falls there for those two for sure.
And there was some reason why we did an early one this year on May, I'm not sure.
And then August is funky too, isn't it, because of when school starts?
It's the first day
that
of
was the second.
duty days.
Yeah, it was just an early.
Okay, so we'll bring these back in a week, okay? Item 13.4, FBUSD district dress code. I'm sure there's public comment about this one. Okay,
So we had a committee that met with representation from our elementary and middle and high school principals, as well as we had, I think, at least one parent, if not two parents on the committee as well. And they came up with the attached dress code that is not hugely specific, but it talks about specific areas of the body that they want covered, which I think is probably the,
so
It seems so,
I know, it
I don't
really
know,
does.
rough, like it's
Well,
just,
and I
I'm
had
like,
to reread it, the midriff, I was like, did they say that you can wear it? Like, what?
and I think some of that is the,
How did I get this?
that they don't want to over-sexualize either gender, and that's been a common complaint among many dress codes throughout the country.
That it's harder on someone that wants to wear the midriff.
Yes.
But there are midriff or, yeah, it's just maybe,
So do we have the old, has this changed a lot?
every school had a little bit different. That was the problem. I think they wanted it
Yeah, high
district.
schools was a little more specific, I think, and there just wasn't consistency moving from school to school with it. So the goal that we tasked the committee with was to come up with something that could universally apply throughout the district without having any of that over-sexualization or any of that sort
So
of
can
thing.
a school decide to make one that's more strict than this, or is this it?
This would be,
That's it, okay.
Yeah.
So no more about the colors?
well, it says gay somewhere,
it does talk about
Yeah.
anything
Emblems,
affiliation
badges,
or-
accessories, other items, evidence membership, affiliation,
we're not
promotion.
specifically calling out colors because those tend to
they
shift.
changed, yeah.
As we
Right.
as we outlaw one color, and like, oh, we'll go to this,
Mhm.
we'll do this. We'll,
Or,
you know.
or an item.
So I guess that was really my question, is there gonna be something as things, is there a supplemental, do we need something? as these things change, to say, well, this year, this is what's defined as affiliation or promotion of gang activity.
I think that's what it leaves latitude to be able to
Okay.
do,
It's
is to
pretty broad.
say, for our administration to get together, so we'll work in an ADCO to say, well, we really feel like,
Okay.
you know, it's been this or that.
So that was my question about,
Yes.
as kids get older, they tend to, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the other piece, is that, if there were a student at, say, Dana Gray, it's gonna be more educational,
Yes.
and we're gonna really work with them to help them understand what that might represent, versus, you know, at the high school where they know when they're putting on a sweatshirt that's advertising drugs, or they have a little bit more knowledge of what that might mean because they're a little more experienced in the world, so.
Mhm.
Okay. And so this will also be on action?
Yes,
For
we'd like
next
to
week?
bring this back next week. If there are no suggestions, if there are, we can always send it back to the committee. But ideally, we would love to have it in place for the start of the school year.
Did you have an elementary and a high school?
Yes, we
or
had elementary,
secondary?
middle, and high school
Okay.
representation on that.
And they were comfortable with all the language and the vagueness, broadness?
Yes.
And did they get this language from another school that this has worked? Like that they know this language isn't confusing to parents and that
Yes,
it's clear?
so I know Tim Anderson, I think as a part of his credential program, was doing a little bit of
okay.
research on it, so he actually pulled, I think it was 4 or 5 different schools that had just representative in kind of different ways from around.
Yeah, and this language, the structure worked for,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to be a guinea pig on,
Yeah, no, it was pretty close. You know, they pulled the specific verbiage from kind of different policies to kind of generate the one that worked for them, so.
yeah. 'Cause normally it's like a trickier where it's just like, you can't wear this, and that's it. And this is like telling you, this is appropriate. It's going through all of it, but I guess
Yeah.
that's not distracting from trying to enforce it.
And if it becomes an issue, we can always revisit.
Adjust it, yeah.
That's
But it's always hard to adjust it when everyone's upset.
in kind of midstream, yes. Yeah, though I will say that the parent that we had participating was the most vocal person, and when there
Good.
was a little bit of a shift at the middle school about that, came and spoke with me, and I said, well, please come be a part of the committee, and so they were there to be able to provide that feedback directly as the policy was being made, so.
Love that.
Yeah,
Get them involved.
exactly. Okay.
All right, any other comments on the dress code? Okay, 13, we're almost done. 13.5, CSBA Annual Education Conference and Trade Show. I asked for this to be on information discussion. Normally, Southern California, we do not attend. However, I know that we will have probably at least one new board member, or at least a board member who has never attended the conference, and the superintendent, and I thought the student rep, it would be a great experience for them, especially since there's a Disney Institute aspect to this as well, and the education they give is phenomenal. So my suggestion to Joe is let's bring it to the board and see if there's budget. I'd love to have 2, however many board members there are that have never been before, I'd love to have budget for them to go. If there's 1, if there's 2.
Well, the struggle with that is that it happens after the election, or the enrollment.
Is right
I don't know if you
before.
can do it as a FBUSD board member and not put a name to
That's
it.
a great.
Because
didn't
when
even
I
think
was
about that.
elected,
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
yeah, so it's
That's
a timing issue.
That's the worst, exactly. I wish that they.
So do you know if CSBA, if they've been elected but not signed in, or
Well, you
sworn
won't,
in? If
yeah,
they
it's,
can,
there's 2, yeah.
I
you're-
think they can attend if they've been elected and not, I
But
believe,
you won't,
but-
I don't know if you can, I think you have to put a person's name on the registration.
What's the deadline? Do you remember what the deadline was? Because you just have to do a late
It's
entry.
relatively late, but it's also,
It's
You can
close.
change it.
I'm betting that we could reach
I
out
mean, that was just
I mean,
an
we
issue
can't
when
be
I
the only-
first
we
became.
we can't be the only district who's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's send the new board member, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it can't be a new issue for them, I don't believe.
Or
so.
have number or a budget been put together?
Yeah, it's attached. Yeah. And it has one board, a Joe, a board member, and a student rep. one board member.
And our student rep has been officially elected through the school. Is she set for next year too? I mean, she told me she wanted to be, but I don't know what happened at the school level.
Or does it happen at the beginning of the school year?
I
There
don't
were
know
lots
that
of-
she is elected, she's recommended.
No, well, unless they changed the way it's
I
set
think
up
they
at the
might have
school,
changed
but,
it.
and I know there was a lot of, because I read the bulletin, that's how I knew about the martial arts thing being
Yeah.
fourth period. There was lots of empty positions, so I didn't know if, because she told me when I met with her in March, April, whenever I did that, that, anyway, I just don't wanna commit money that if, you know what I mean? I just-
Well, I think, I mean.
It's travel, it's more the, I mean, the
Yeah, no.
the registration's expensive, but I don't know why they don't have them in less expensive places.
So they don't, this doesn't have the
Even in
flight
Sacramento, they have it in
either.
I was gonna say,
downtown
doesn't have
instead
flight
of,
information,
Doesn't have
which would
flight
be-
information, but that should be a fairly cheap flight.
Anyway, we can,
Bring it
approve it
back.
later. I just, we don't have to approve it now. I know registration just opened, so Renee reached out to me and said, hey, I know you were interested in this. What do you want to do? And I said, well, let's bring it to the board. So I don't know if we want to have budget for 2 or 3 total, and maybe the student rep doesn't go and there's 2 new board members. It's a valuable conference, and if we had more money, I'd suggest
yeah,
a
if
couple of us go
money,
every year,
if we
right?
were rich, I would say,
Of
yeah,
course.
everybody goes every year.
Yeah.
It is
It
really,
is so
I mean, I hadn't
enriching.
been in a really long time, and so it was
Yeah.
so, it reminded me of why I
Yeah.
did this in the first place. But it's,
And that's just it. I think if you're brand new, it might be too much, where you need to be seated for
Mhm.
a year and then you go. I don't know. It's
Although
just,
the new
But we have a,
board
there
member
is-
training is pretty phenomenal.
but
yeah.
you could do one day in Sacramento for
And
that.
we may have
Oh,
a
that's
board
true.
member who's been on the board for a while, but now,
Yeah, need to
don't mean to pick
refresh
on
it.
you, but, she
Right.
has had some experience.
Right.
And I
But-
think it's good for our superintendent to go every year if we can afford it, if
Yeah,
this is a priority. We
exactly.
can afford, and I guess budget-wise, Wendy, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I put the same amount in as last year for it, so,
Okay,
oh, so you did include it already. And then, I don't mean to be such a negative Nelly, but this is also in December, and you're spending 7, 8, 9, $1,200 on the student, and she only has 6 more months.
right. So maybe what we do is we just approve 3 registrations, and then we can, as.
Because I think they still have that virtual student or something maybe,
Yeah.
for a day, or it wouldn't be this big trip.
And I know when
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
approving
that's-
$1 million for some other thing,
You know,
it's
and
not,
I
this
know
is
that's
nothing,
true, but having been a rep for, having at the end for 2, it provides the student with experience and knowledge, and I know we just.
Well, I
Anyway.
also,
Yeah.
it's just my,
No,
Good thing.
yeah. all
There, just to clarify, there is information on how to register a pending board
Oh,
member
excellent.
or superintendent, either way.
Okay.
Oh, that's true.
That's something.
I'm sure they want
I'm
everyone's
sure
money,
they
so
do.
they're gonna accommodate.
and
The
maybe my
unknown.
issue is that anyway, yeah.
To finish your thought,
Yes, please.
your issue?
No, I'm good. We're not
Yep.
voting on this, so we'll just move on. It's after 9. Let's roll.
But it's in the budget, you said, right, Wendy? This, okay,
Well,
So
there is, yeah,
all right.
some.
Yeah. When it's time to vote, I'll.
Well,
Well, I
right.
guess if it's in the budget, we don't have to vote.
Well,
No,
we
you
vote on
still,
it next-
we still
next
do
week.
anyway, just
Yes.
find out who's and what.
I'm
But it
I'm
was
not
real-
gonna say I'm not gonna approve
There's
the
an
budget
amount
for
in
the-
the budget, how you spend it is
Is
up to
what,
you.
yes.
Oh,
But
for
it,
PD
but it
for
was
us.
very fun to have the whole board go.
It was.
And so that was our thought, was that we would do every other.
And
But
then
if,
everybody goes.
yeah, but I think we should assess who's on the board and what are the options, because the one day in Sacramento is great. It's much, cheaper, and you get, for the newbies.
Uh-huh.
And then we see, maybe only 2 people go, and it won't be that big of a
Okay.
burden, but, it really was, pretty meaningful.
It was, yeah, I
as a
agree.
whole.
And when it's in Northern California in 25, I think we should definitely budget for the board
Yeah.
to go. Okay, moving on, 14.1 board reports. If anyone would like to go
Bob.
first.
I'll go.
All right.
since now I've been negative, I'm gonna be positive. My first thing is that I was at a public event, and I've been around, my kids go to the district, and, I remember Mary Kay, like, she would go out and she was like the mayor, like she'd walk down the street and people, Miss Champagne, Miss Champagne. So yeah, I just wanted to report that I was at a public event, and the same thing happened to Mr. Aldridge, and I was taken back by the fact that he's the superintendent. He's not, but yet this little girl ran up to him, Mr. Aldridge, hi, Mr. Aldridge. And anyway, just took me back that our superintendent, who's only been here for 2 years, is now like popularity like the principal. So I just commend Joe for that. Thank you for being,
Connected.
yes, that means you're on campuses and kids know who you are, so thank you for that. I already gave the shout out about my soapbox about our kids are doing great, and so is our staff. And then the other thing, I just want to talk for a split second about the career day. So I was only there for one of the sessions, but I wanted to comment that I did not see one cell phone out in that room. And so I was just so impressed with how engaged the kids were. So I've done that several times, and that's not always the case. So I just wanted to kudos again. The staff is setting expectations, and it's amazing. And then this is a personal story, but we were supposed to leave that day for an FFA event, and my son's like, we need to get to Boonville, so we're not going to the career fair. So he came the session that I had committed to come to, and then he says, Mom, I need to go to the next one because I've learned so much. And then, Mom, I need to stay for the next one because I want to go listen to this. And so going in there, he wanted to be a welder. Well, coming out, he now begged to go to an event that happened the following day or the following Monday for Boots on the Ground it's supposed to be for seniors. The man sold it to him. He wants to go into forestry now. So I just want to say that it tells it, like somebody said, it tells you what you don't want to do. He doesn't want to do construction. He doesn't want to do painting, because now he's painted a barn for us and he learns about painting from Caesar. But now for a kid that has a lot of exposure, it still made a huge impact in him, and I just want to thank the school and Lily and all the people that put that together, because that was a pretty amazing day too. So it's so nice to have good things happening and not all the negative stuff. So anyway, I'll be quiet now.
I have to chime in on that as well, because I think that kids were a little bit nervous because they don't really know what to expect. Some of them hadn't experienced a career day. But I think they get a lot more out of it than they realize. Because I said, you can't not go. And you have to show up. And then, like you said, they keep going to the sessions.
And his note page, I found it in the house. It literally was full. Like, I don't think he's taking that many notes in any class all year long, but the whole thing was full. So anyway, just kudos to him.
And then I dug out my certificate because I'm hoping it's valid for our 2 years, because that was very painful. I love dry stuff for what was it? It was considered ethics training with the CSBA.
Yes.
And I hope that they fix it, because it could have been better. I don't know if I don't have to do that for 2 more years. And then I wanted to thank the grounds crew for the Safe and Sober, because no one took down the backdrop, and they always like to move that so the grass grows. So shout out to the grounds crew that helped the volunteers that didn't volunteer. So, and then the Pacers with another webinar that I listened to about the May revise. They say to contact your Pacer and be out there to say we don't want the adjustment and change of the Constitution for the prop monies. So that was a push out. And then all the ceremonies were great. They are really, I could know no one and think it's just lovely. I just think they're all great. But the high school, so a time allocation, I know there was a need for speeches, but the time allocation got off course. So with that being a small class, I worry about bigger classes, because that was already, it was lengthy. So it took away a little bit, because it was more than 50% of the graduation were speeches. So
And we're going to work on that in the future.
yeah,
so.
All of it's good, and there was plenty enough time to do it anyway. Anyone wanted to do it. But there was that sweet family that was waiting for their daughter, her diploma, the celebratory diploma. So I felt bad for that family. Yeah, they were waiting for that piece. So anyway, but a great celebration and great, kids were happy.
I also attended the career day and did 2 sessions and took away a lot more than I thought I would be. I don't know, I was apprehensive about it. It's like, what do I am I gonna tell them? Like, I don't know, I stumbled upon this. Like, I really thought I'd be in the medical career or I'd be doing something different. But they had engaging questions. They were really interested in what the city does and how we're involved with CV Star and just making CV Star a more friendly teen space. And I was like, come to city council and let us know that that's what you want so that we can make it and change it to the way you want to do. So I enjoyed hearing their feedback. And all 3 graduations were beautiful. Thank you so much for letting me be part of that process, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, I attended Career Day as well, and it was great. I always like going and talking about myself. It's always a lot of fun. Just really, because I've done so many different jobs in town over the years, it's just kind of, I focus more on, you don't have to just do one thing forever, and that's kind of my message, especially if you want to live in a small area, rural area, small town. Mock interviews, did those were great. Hired almost on the spot, hired one of the freshmen, or now sophomore. And so she's going to start in a couple weeks, but it's just great to be able to give them feedback from anything from, tuck in your shirt to make eye contact to, handshake to sign your application, because they know nothing. And they've been working on this for weeks. And I appreciate, we were given advice, be picky, in your evaluation, be picky. And we were. I was afraid who I was with. But the 2 of us, we were picky. And I think the kids really, I'm hoping that they learned and got a lot from it. Graduation ceremonies were great. I would really like to see a little more honoring of the students in what's handed out. I think those little pieces of paper are, I'll be frank, are crap. And it'd be great to see a little bit of resource go into, picture of the kid. I thought last year or year before we got one that each kid, and it said the little blurb that they say out.
The students each got those. So
Okay,
it
but
doesn't go out to the
I know, but I just think,
community.
if whether they need to get sponsorships or whatever, it just, I just feel like we could better honor, like a memorial, like it's, I don't know, something to take home, something to like have instead of just, I don't know. I've been to a lot of
You're
graduations.
talking about the program.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
the students did.
And then
great.
still half of it's logos on the back. It's like, really you have to sponsor a piece of paper. And it's not a criticism. It's more a suggestion on how to, honor these kids and celebrate what they've done. And that goes for alt ed, as well. And too bad it wasn't outside this year. It was a beautiful day. It's like,
It could have been a really.
and it was so fast.
It
It's like,
was.
yeah.
It really was.
So hopefully those kids felt just as honored and celebrated as the high school. But anyway, again, not a criticism, just more of a suggestion. These kids work really hard to get to where they go, to where they're going. And so I haven't seen the yearbook yet. I'd love to see that too. But that's something different.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one in the library.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
To ask, I think they used to give one to the DO that we can share.
Yeah, do they? Okay.
right.
So,
But it turned out, there's a lot of photos in it. We made the behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah,
It was a lot of work that went into that.
that's great. And I still think a parade would be great. If we did it during COVID, I don't know how much work it was, but like how great would that be? And then do the graduation in the stadium. Okay, advanced planning suggestions for future board meetings. We have our July date set, right?
Yes.
Oh, look, it's up there. Look at that.
July
And we did change it to a 2-hour time frame.
Okay.
I would ask that,
Four.
it may go a little longer, but we'll, if everyone, I know it's summer and whatever, people have stuff going on, but we have a pretty big agenda.
Okay.
And I really, it'd be great if we could spend the time to dive into what we're supposed to dive into and
So 2 hours plus.
come away with it with something tangible to start the year with. So that's, yeah, July 24th, my grandma's birthday. I know, she's no longer with us. Anything else for future board meetings? No? We'll post next week's agenda on Friday? No, Monday. Monday. Yeah. It's not a special meeting. Yeah, Monday. Sorry. And then housekeeping and reminders, announcements, summer. Thanks for getting through tonight, everybody. I know it was a long meeting, big agenda. Thank you, staff, for preparing everything you did to get us through it. Three Rivers.
I thought there was no Google, I thought there was no board chat on the 20th.
There's not,
Okay,
right? There's no board chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, it's on there.
That's missing.
June 18.
So we're meeting at 6 on the 20th.
Yeah, there's no closed session.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
I
sorry.
probably
for
would've,
that.
I probably would've, okay.
And
Good to know.
it's an hour? I mean, I know it's a regular meeting, so it doesn't matter, but,
At the most, I would think. Yeah.
okay.
6
I
PM.
mean, I think you've seen a preview of pretty much everything.
Everything that we're gonna talk
Unless
about.
there's
Dang, I'm
some
missing the
new-
short meeting.
They usually are, I know,
Yeah.
you will.
The
Okay.
goal is that we put in the work tonight.
Right, we put in the work tonight.
Well, there,
Unless
helped,
there's-
good.
Unless there's
help
some
for the good of the
wiggy thing
order.
that goes down, which I don't anticipate in a week's time.
Can't
Not
imagine.
with the June I've had already.
And then I won't be able to attend Three Rivers on, I have another-
should be able to attend.
okay, I have another meeting at 5 o'clock that's probably gonna go longer than
That-
30 minutes.
It's
So,
on my calendar to attend.
okay,
Is that Tuesday?
yeah,
It's Tuesday,
sorry,
the
I'm
18th.
driving.
yeah, right, yeah.
No worries, I can attend. I just
Okay.
want to preview their LCAP and that kind of thing.
Perfect. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn at 9:21.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much.